All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Group Up Podcast. We're here for the great DPS debate. Last time we did the tank debate. They got their whining in. They complained about their role. Now it's time for the DPS players to do a bit of whining and whinging, or maybe they're going to be lapping it up. Maybe they feel like DPS is in a great place and they're loving life. We'll find out as I talk to my guests in the top right. A regular by now. Barely needs an introduction, but it's my man, Samito. Samito, what's up?
Not much. Just DPS. It's weird because I feel like DPS is it's always been like my main role SVB, but I feel like most of the time we've been on, I haven't had the chance to talk about DPS in a really long time. I'm trying to think about the last time where you and I have been on a discussion where we've gotten to talk about DPS, and it might have been the launch of Overwatch. It might be 2 years now, so it'll be fun to talk about DPS. I'm excited.
Yeah, usually the discussions turn up, either big picture or we talk about tanks a lot. But we'll get a chance.
Or supports.
Or supports. Yeah, exactly. We love to bitch about supports, but this is your chance to talk about your original role. Now, again, another person who's been on the podcast quite a bit in the bottom right, sporting perhaps an ominous background, is Spilo. Spilo, what's up?
Not much. Got some technical difficulties, but I should be good to go soon.
Okay, don't worry. I'll come to you later then. In that case, let's introduce two guests. I mean, one who hasn't been on in a while and one who was with me in person. We'll start first with Deku because we might need some explanation and context to what Deku's setup is right now. Deku, how are you doing?
Hey, so I'm in London and I'm playing on a laptop, and that's what I'm streaming on. That's my setup right now, so hopefully it's not too bad. And you might hear Salt in the background yelling because he's playing comp currently, so yeah, that's about it.
So if a random voice starts yelling about Reinhardt or Brig, then you kind of know what's going on there.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. So Deku, who you're here to represent? What you're gonna represent the hit scans for us?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I only play hit scan, so.
Well, there you go. So you got the hit scan propaganda in the top left, and in the bottom left is the anti-pulse bomb propaganda coming through from Jay3, who last you saw in person we were on the podcast. Jay now coming from his bedroom. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. I'm enjoying myself right now. I miss you guys. I don't talk to you guys a lot. Everyone's doing their own thing.
Too busy driving Porsches. This is what you fucking... That's what's going on.
Not too busy. That was like a 2-hour thing, man. Come on.
So is a podcast. Well, you're here now, though, so I'm glad
we can get to
on.
3 pretty easily, SVB. We can get to 3.
We do.
Oh, if you have Samito here, you can
get to 4. You can get to 4. Easily.
I wonder what our record is. I think it might be the one when they announced PVUs canceled. I think that was our longest one.
Was it?
I think so.
There
but
was
I'd
one
have to...
with Salt and Avril, and I was quite a long time too.
I feel like your tank one went on for a really long time. Where
We've had
Salt
some
said
tank
Reinhardt was the most brain dead tank in the game.
Yeah, I had to cut
That
off
went on for
Salt.
hours.
I had to cut off Salt because he was going in on Reinhardt and Flats was losing his mind and chat was cooking Salt. Chat was like, why did you let this guy on the podcast? Who the fuck is this guy bad-mouthing Reinhardt?
Didn't he do like a challenge on Reinhardt? And then didn't he quit?
He was like, what was his record, Deku? Wasn't it like 20 and like 50 or something?
I do look at like Metro out there on the unranked GM.
I think his account was like, because he was playing on an alt account, his account was like maybe top 100 or top 50. At some point it was Masters 3, and I think back to like Masters 1 or something, but yeah.
The clip where he shatters the Lucio, pins, and then he gets gripped, and then he just starts like twerking on the camera.
Oh,
There
yeah.
he is. There he is.
He's like, what are you talking about? What was your record on Reinhardt?
I had a 45% win rate in total. But guys, listen. I'm telling you, that hero is strong. That's what I'm saying. Listen, Cody and Hattie both said the hero's OP. I don't want to hear it. Listen, new video, SVB, I hope you watch it when it comes out.
Okay, I got you, man. I got you. We'll have a Reinhardt discussion at some point. I'll let you have your piece. I'll let you say your piece. But for now, we're gonna stick to talking about DPS. So, my guys, my fellas, how are you feeling about DPS overall at this current state? So, just give me your overall general thoughts on the state of DPS. Are you happy? Are you unhappy? I'll go to Jay first. Jay3, representing the DPS. How do you find him?
I feel like they could do a better job on like the overall balance. I think right now, I mean, at least I'm having fun on the role. I don't know about anyone else, but I do feel like they kind kind of watched some characters like Hanzo. I feel like Hanzo could probably like some characters could be like buffed or a little bit more because I right now I feel like there's a I guess there's a meta. There's Cassidy's really good. Sojourn's really good. Pharah has been a sleeper pick, and Pharah has been really like fire lately. But I wish more characters were a little bit more viable. I mean, I don't know about the projectiles. Samito can go on that, but
We will.
yeah. Oh, what do you call it? But I think the game is good right now. The DPS is good right now. I don't know about the game. The game has been feeling a little stale for me, so I feel.
Okay, well, I'm glad at least you feel like DPS is pretty good. You maybe feel like there could be some more diversity, but I think you're expressing also sentiment that most of the hardcore grinders always come to is like, I'm getting a bit stale now, but
Yeah.
Sticking to the DPS, Deku, how have you found the role of DPS to be? And maybe you want to give an ear as well how you find the game to be.
I feel like DPS has just been pretty stale ever since they made the hitboxes bigger. I don't know why. It's just like it feels like hitting those skill shots now just don't feel as fun anymore, as like rewarding or anything. It's just like, oh, you just do it now or whatever. And the role itself it's like not super strong. I still feel tank is way stronger than DPS. Like your tank can do more than you in every situation almost. So I don't know. I'm like iffy about it, but overall it's not too horrible right now. It just feels stale. But the game feels stale, so maybe that's just because the game entirely feels stale. There's not a lot of stuff going on.
Maybe. I mean, you're partly just exposing how good you are, Deku. Where you're like, oh, you just do it. You just click them.
No, I'm more
I'm
stuck
here.
like Masters 1 right now, so I'm not even that good. But like it just feels boring after they changed the hitboxes, for me at least. I don't like it.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll take it to Sam next because he's technically representing DPS, and then let Spilo be the objective consultant.
I'm just a sub, man. I'm just here to suck them out. That's all I do.
No,
man.
no. I'll explain in a second what Spilo's talking about. But Sam, you first.
And then Spilo, we're gonna need the lore on the choice of the background for today. I'm getting some I agree with SVB, some ominous sentiment with that one, but we'll see. So DPS in general, let's talk where the role is at now compared to towards the start of Overwatch 2. The DPS passive change in season 9 absolutely addressed the role not being like strong whatsoever. Season 7 and season 8 of playing DPS felt so miserable. Like the Q times were instant. Like it's just, you could not out damage any of the crazy healing that was in the game. So like the DPS passive itself definitely bumped DPS up to kind of be like middle of the pack and more competitive with the other roles. I think Jay nailed it when he said that there's an issue with hero strength across the role. I mean, we kind of expected this with season 9. I think that the devs definitely could have done a better job at this point now, and hopefully by the start of season 11, addressing some of the outliers that clearly got left behind. I take it we're gonna go through like a lot of the DPS characters individually today. I'm gonna wait on Pharah, and I'm gonna apologize to everybody what I'm gonna say about Pharah, because it means everybody's gonna start picking Pharah, and playing against Pharah is really annoying. But she's the strongest projectile hero in the game and ranked by far, not even close. And after playing her, we'll talk about what changed that made her get to that point. She's just ranged Junkrat now, but better in my opinion. Then I would say it definitely is stale. I don't think that's because of the DPS role though. I think that's just the state of the game and like there's just less options in this game for DPS. You can access the space easier, Spilo, that we talked about, but I just think there's less options and that makes it feel stale easier, especially with the hitbox changes too, which I'm going to talk about those a little bit as well later on. But I think I'm going to pass the baton here to Spilo because I think that's all I got for introductions.
Yeah,
Hitbox changes are good, guys. I'm turning 30. Come on.
I'm not far behind you, man. I'm not far behind you. So
I this one here. No, wait, SVB, you're older than I am, right?
I was gonna say I am 30, dude, and I sucked before, so that didn't really change. So
yeah, all Jay3 just talks about his age, but he honestly has no excuse. He's like the 3rd or 4th oldest here, so
I think I'm the
no
3rd.
excuse, but-
what year were you guys
When do you
born?
turn 30?
I'm 94. I turned 30 in November.
Yeah, so you're younger than me.
Oof.
Hairline is no
96.
excuse.
I'm 96.
Whoa! Come on,
I think
man.
Sam and Deku are the younger ones and the youngins in this one. But
Listen,
okay,
if I shave this, I lose 15 years. So
It's true.
Yeah,
That's
you
why-
look
that's why I
crazy
grew-
shaved, dude.
Yeah, I know.
That's
I
why I
know.
grew this, because I always got the baby face accusations, so I had to beat the allegation somehow. I mean, some good things you've earmarked there. One of the phenomena of the podcast is that we will kind of come out and we'll bitch about something, but like this is so fucking OP, and then all of a sudden more people start playing it. So we kind of do ourselves a disservice on the podcast by highlighting certain things, but we do it for the greater good. On that note, Spilo, you are now here as the objective representative. Let me fill in on the story because Spilo's going to bring these sub accusations in constantly. I want each of these to have an objective observer, right? Like in the previous one, we had Frito, who's, you know, played a lot of tank, but technically he's not tied to a role, right? You have like Flats and others, they're like kind of tank mains. Frito was the non-explicitly one role main representative. I wanted Avril on here today, and Avril had agreed to come on today, but then last minute he's like, oh, sorry, I got Overwatch League or OWCS stuff to do. Face It stuff to do. I wanted to bring Spilo for the support podcast because I wanted to split up. Sam and Spilo have been on so many podcasts together. So I was like, I don't want them to just have their same little thing all over and over. But Spilo came through last minute, and now, Spilo, give me your thoughts on how you view DPS, maybe from the outside looking in.
I mean, I agree with all the guys. I think like DPS is in a pretty decent spot power-wise. Maybe like Deku said, maybe not quite as strong as tank in terms of objective ability to control the battlefield. But I do think that DPS is in a pretty good spot right now. I think Ventures definitely mix things up. I think, obviously, projectile, there's still, I think a big discussion I'm sure we'll touch on today is like the projectile versus hit scan dilemma. There's so many DPS characters that I think, not just projectile characters, but so many DPS characters that are kind of been left behind.
That was fire.
The one behind me is one that deserves to be left behind. But maybe that's kind of like, my ideal is always that like at some point we're going to get these characters up to speed. Maybe more like Pharah, maybe more like Venture. Maybe even more like Sombra, where there's like a lot more dynamics and nuance with how they play, and I think that's something that like maybe is a long-term project for the Overwatch team because I think ironically, I think we complain about tank a lot, but outside of like Roadhog, maybe Malga, Orisa, whatever, I actually feel like tanks have like a much better skill curve reward. Like if you look at like Dia, Doomfist, Junkrat Queen, Reinhardt, Sigma, Winston, Wrecking Balls, there's like a lot of tanks that actually scale really well with your skill. And have like good ceiling outputs, but I think like a lot of the DPS and to a lesser extent support characters just don't really reward your skill as much. Like there's only so much that you can do, you know, with the Bastion or with the Junkrat or with the Reaper or with the Symmetra or with the Torbjorn, and there's like a lot of things that I think like DPS characters are kind of like left behind. And I think that might be interesting to kind of talk about like what do some of these characters need.
Sorry, one sec. I was unmuting myself. Yeah, I mean that's interesting. It feels like that's maybe partly what Deku and Jay brought up at the start, where they were kind of like, you know, like it's good, maybe a bit stale, maybe I don't feel like I'm kind of getting all the dopamine hits that I want to. So I'm gonna take it to Jay back first. Jay, having heard that, is that kind of like an assessment you agree with? You're kind of middle of the pack, but you maybe don't feel like you can express your skill the way you'd like to.
I feel like in certain circumstances, I do feel like tank is very, very strong right now, though. But I mean, seeing a Winston have like more damage than some of the DPS players are crazy. Like, I mean, and they could be playing like, well. But I do think what Sam said, we had like what 15% damage, healing mitigation or something, and I felt useless during that time. 20% makes it feel a lot better, but now what I'm running into, and I noticed is that like he also mentioned that queue times were fast. Now I'm waiting at 17-minute queues, and I don't know if it's the end of the season or what's going on here. Less people are playing Overwatch, but I don't know, man. I feel like
Don't say it, Sam.
I won't say it. I won't say it.
Oh wait, say it. I want to hear it.
Listen,
I wake up this morning. I got literally 52 messages I had to respond to. All of a sudden, my DMs start lining up, and I'm like, "Oh no, it's from Sam." I get a screenshot from Overbuff with the total tank player population. I was like, oh.
Jay, the reason why your queue times are so long is that the amount of people, the percentage of people queuing tank in the last month has been cut in half.
Really? I didn't even know that was a stat you could see. That's crazy.
Hello guys, SEB here, and the Group Up podcast is back, and I'd like to take just 30 seconds of your time to talk to you about two quick things. Firstly, Patreon. If you enjoy the content, then please do consider supporting directly, because Patreon takes only about 10% of the money you give, where YouTube and Twitch take 40 and 50% respectively. So if you'd like to support the podcast, then that is the best way to do so. Secondly, if you're someone who enjoys video essays or detailed analysis of movies, TV, or anime, then please do check out my second channel, The Soak, where I'll be making videos about those kind of topics much more frequently, and where a lot of my attention will go beyond just Overwatch. It would mean the absolute world to me if you guys would check it out, but that's it for now. Let's head back to the discussion.
That's why. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think so. Sam's been spreading the screenshot around. I think in all his DMs about the percentage of players picking tank, and it's gone down. As Sam was saying, I thought you said it was 25%.
It
Well,
was.
yeah.
It was in comp specifically. That 25% was net. In comp specifically, it was at 21% of people were queuing tank, and this season towards the end, it's at 12.74.
Oh damn. Okay, so yeah, I mean, what? So that's perhaps the reason. Maybe Jay, it has nothing to do with DPS. Is the reason your queue times have gone up. But,
Yeah, I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
But of course, we're here to. I mean, it's interesting though. We're here to talk about DPS, and I'll take it to Deku because this is a sentiment you expressed as well, Deku, where you were kind of saying, "Yeah, okay, I'm playing DPS," and to the staleness point, you said, "Well, the hit scan, the hitbox changes have kind of made it almost taken the fun out of it for you." But you've also felt like, well, I still feel like the tanks are the one controlling the game. So do you think that that's like just always going to be the case in Overwatch 2, or do you think it's something to do with the power level of DPS is where it's at currently?
I think the power level of DPS is fine where it's at. I just think you're not gonna like what I'm gonna say. I think it's just a 5v5 thing, man. Like, I think it's just, why have a giga tank when you can just have 2 baby tanks, you know? I preferred 6v6, that's all I'm gonna say. But
Yeah.
I don't know, it's always gonna be rock, paper, scissors for the tanks, because the tanks are always gonna like dictate like who's winning the point, like what's happening. It's always gonna be on the tank pretty much most of the games. At least that's been my experience queuing up. Like, it doesn't matter, I could have 20, 30k damage. If my tank isn't doing his job, we just lose.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of the listeners who are on the 6v6 side are delighted to hear another recruit brought in. I should have known the dangers of bringing, because I knew Deku was a 6v6er, and I should have known the dangers of like half the roster being 6v6, because we might just spiral off into that discussion again, and that will take up the whole podcast.
I'll stay off of it today. I'll stay off of it today.
No,
unless
no,
I
no.
absolutely have to.
And you know, these issues again, they illustrate how central so much of Overwatch is to each other, right? Like, you know, we're here talking about DPS, but still people, you know, want to talk about the state of how tanks are affecting, how the format is affecting. Of course, all these things will have an impact on how you feel about DPS. So it'll be impossible to some regard to split all of that. But we're gonna try, because I know the
hero
DPS
strength we can. Hero strength.
Yes.
Like specifics about heroes being left behind. It's easy.
For sure. And we'll start off talking general, then we'll talk to each of the heroes, and you know, the DPS players I know will be like, we want our time to talk about our role. We don't want to turn this into another thing. So I'm gonna again bring it back to some of the things we alluded to about A, the hitbox changes, B, the DPS passive changes. Again, I want to take it to Jay first, because we haven't heard so much from Deku and Jay recently. Jay, you were kind of saying actually the hitbox changes are great. Like, I'm happy with the hitbox changes. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. So I remember when the hitbox changes were first announced and people were showing like side-by-side comparisons, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I was very skeptical at first. I was like, why the hell is Overwatch doing this? I feel like it's gonna, you know, break the game, or it's gonna make everything like unbalanced. But what I started to do with Overwatch is I don't want to judge it until I try it. I actually feel like they're good. Sure, it was a little broken at first when it first was happening. Like, Widows can shoot like 2 heads away and still hit the head hitbox. But they changed it and made things a little smaller. I feel like it's good from the characters I play, at least. Or maybe I'm just being biased, like I said, because I am getting old. But I kind of like it. I don't think it changes the game much. Plus, they, you know, the added HP thing that they did with all the characters, I thought that was dumb at first as well, but I think it ended up being really healthy for the game.
Deku, again, this was something you alluded to. You're on the other side of the fence. You feel like it's actually taking it the other way.
Yeah, I don't like it. It makes it even less competitive for me, in my opinion. Like, bigger hitboxes and more HP, it just kind of dulls it down for me. I don't know. That's just my opinion, though. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way.
Well, I'll
It
take it.
definitely reduces variance a little bit. Sorry.
Go ahead, Spilo. You go.
Variance because it's like you're going to be more consistent with landing your shots, so that there's going to be less like moments where you're just like one shot like 3 people in a row. But then at the same time, it's like there's going to be fewer circumstances where you're just like whiff, 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 whiff. So it's like it really depends on like what your cup of tea is, you know? Because they wanted it. We know that it was like to reduce the burst damage and to reduce the number of one shots in the game. And by that metric, I think it was pretty successful. But it does mean that like you're not going to have those clips where Hanzo is going to induct 3 arrows and kill 3 people, you know, or Widow's
Yeah.
going to clip. Because even with a Widow, you can still one shot, but now you have to charge it that extra amount of HP, and so it's just like there's just fewer like. It did
Pop-off
increase the
moments.
time to kill, right? There's fewer pop-off moments, but that also means that like it's easier to do more consistent damage, and it's like being on the other side of like just getting basically one shot over and over again. It's like that is the upside as well. So it's like almost a preference thing, and clearly developers like they don't like the one shots, like they don't like that in the game.
Well, before I ask
I-
Sam's opinion, oh, actually, go ahead and finish, Deku. Go ahead.
Oh, I actually miss the Hanzo one shot. Now he feels so boring. Like now he just feels so shit unless you have a mercy
That's true.
pocket.
Yes, Sam and I had a long talk about that. I think we've got some ideas that we like.
Guys, what do you mean? His stats are fine. Come on. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Still
talk
can't-
about Hanzo dedicatedly. And I was almost tempted to DM Arg before this because I know he's been on a crusade of like boycott you know the game until they fix Hanzo. And I was tempted to be like, hey man, like can you give me your summary of what your stance is? But I didn't in the end. I figured there's enough Hanzo representation between Deku and Sam. But before I do take it to Sam, Spilo, you said this is like, you know, it's like a pick your poison. What do you prefer, like, as an individual? Are you happy with the overall?
Yeah,
hitbox
I'd
and
say
stuff?
I'm happy with it. I'd say I'm not like I don't really have a really strong opinion about it, but I was kind of like Jay said, I kind of like reserve my judgment until things are tried out, and I was like, hey, you know what, this works as a one shot like deterrent, while without necessarily ruining things. It definitely changed some breakpoints. Obviously, like some of the projectile characters kind of like May lost her one shot, and Tracer, Hanzo lost his one shot, Junkrat lost his one tap, but like those are like really double-edged swords. You know, they definitely hurt the identity of some of those characters. But also people really hated some of those things too. Even stuff like a Pharah can't 2-tap you as easily with rockets, right? It requires a damage. So there's like a lot of like breakpoints that changed, but not all of those breakpoints were like, oh, we're all crying and in tears. So I would say I'm overall slightly in favor. That's about it where I stand.
Interesting. So yeah, on par, you're in favor. Sam, how about you? Like on par, are you in favor of these mix of changes?
I'm gonna pose a question first because I've been thinking about it. Okay. So, I really have been kind of stuck thinking about this the last couple days. Do you guys? So, you're never gonna hit every shot, right? You're like even with the bigger hitbox size, it did help with your aim. You're never gonna hit every shot, so you don't always benefit from the bigger hitbox size, but every character in the game is always going to benefit from having more health, if that makes sense. Like you're always that health point, like those health points are always going to be there, but you're not going to hit every shot. So, and this is where I've just been stuck, to be honest with you. I wish that they were able to accurately adjust more heroes across the board to be, I would like to see how this would play when more characters were viable. I would like to see how this play when Mei was not a 4-shot in the body. I would like to see how this would play when, like, what's another hero that we feel like kind of is just not quite there yet?
Ana?
Ana, kind of, yeah. But I just feel like I understand what Deku's saying, because I find in more games I just totally autopilot now. Like I don't cognitively think like I'll just pick Cass, and who is really really good in ranked at least, and kind of like go down, or like I'll just pick Pharah and be trying to spam my combos. Like it's definitely a lot more autopilot, like thoughtless for me. I can't decide if this helped the ceiling or hurt it, and that's where I play. So I can't really. I don't want to try to speak for like average players about how their experience has been. I wish I could give you a better answer. I'm not really sure how I feel yet, to be honest with you. I wish.
But it's like by how much versus like the quality of life stuff of like having an easier balance metric now, you know?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I really wish I could give you all a better answer. I will say I'm on autopilot more, and I really wish I had the opportunity to play more characters that got left behind. Like I was able to hard pick Mei through season 8 because of that one shot on Tracer, and because it wasn't a 4-shot in the body. Like remember when they made Hanzo Storm Arrow a 4-shot in the body and his win rate went straight down? Mei is like that now, except it's even longer to charge up your icicle. So I'm sitting there and there's like an Alari pylon just hard countering me. I'm like, I cannot play this character. So I don't know. I'd like to see more of the heroes in my role get tuned up a little bit first, but I'm not sure how to feel. I wish I had a better answer.
Jay, I'm going to take it to you first. I'm curious as Deku's thoughts because Deku kind of sparked this, and Deku's nodding her head, so she clearly is agreeing with these sentiments. Jay, you again are on the other side of the fence. So like, how do you respond to the idea that this is actually dulling the kind of high of the game?
I do see myself, going autopilot sometimes, but that's because the other team locks Maga, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, oh, okay, Sojourn or Cass, and then start shooting him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
Sojourn's
think that's
fun right
like
now, though. Sojourn's fun. Sorry.
Sojourn's fun, but I don't like what they're doing. Or I guess what they did, they like kind of catered to like the and no offense to the lower ranked players when they said they couldn't land their rails or keep their energy. So now Sojourn has that 25 extra energy, or I think it's 25 that she keeps. 25. I think that was like really dumb. I don't think she needed that, but I mean, that's where I'm at. I just think
because everything's easier to shoot, so and there's like less, the TDK is a little bit longer, so people are like a little bit more relaxed. Like I'm not sure.
No, it's just like a rinse and repeat right now, in my opinion. Like you said shoot the Roadhog. It's either Roadhog or Maga. You just build your rail someone. Build your rail someone. Just go on Cassidy and start left clicking the Maga. So, keep high noon. When he cages, you high noon the cage.
So is that autopilot though? Because you're kind of narrowing in on a few heroes. Is that like a meta staleness that you're kind of running these same similar heroes, Cass, Sojourn? Is that a meta staleness, or is that a staleness that comes from this like hitbox changes and all that, and the health changes? Where do you think you'd pin it down to?
I don't think it's the hitbox. I wouldn't say it's the health either. I think it's just the meta right now, to be honest with you.
Just a staleness in the game. Yeah,
just because you see a lot of other streamers right now. They're all streaming other games. They don't really even play that Overwatch that much. Everyone's playing Elden Ring or some other game.
I saw Imam die to a goat.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny.
I did see that. That was funny. Oh my god.
I mean, again, as always, it's all these interconnected tangents kind of coming together as one, right? Because partly it's that there's not going to be a new hero next season, and we've kind of the hype around the new season has died a little bit, and people feel like Overwatch is being left behind. Combine that with the fact that it's towards the end of the season, so everyone's kind of a little bit worn out, a little bit like we've kind of played it all. So Deku, I'm gonna take it back to you now. Like, you land on this being firmly a case caused by the changes, not by all these stale aspects I've talked about now.
I mean, it could also be to do with that as well, like in combination with it, because the game overall just, I mean, I'm just glad I haven't seen Orisa being picked a lot also, because like that was the problem last time. But I mean, overall, it's like you only see a couple hero picks for DPS. Like every game, I see Cassidy every single game. No matter what, there's one Cassidy on each team. Sojourn almost every game. Tracer and Pharah. That's what I see the most. And I feel like it's partly because like the DPS passive, I feel like Tracer benefits the most, and so does Sojourn. I don't know. That could be it too. But I don't know.
So we kind of narrowed it on basically Hitscan plus Pharah as like these are the only heroes that get picked.
Kind of, yeah. Like I don't see a lot of much of anything else really. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I've played maybe like 2 weeks straight, and that's all I've seen in every game.
Interesting. This is one of the consequences of the podcast. We kind of start, and I'm like, yo, how you guys feeling? You're like, yeah, pretty good. And then I start asking you a few questions. You're like, nah, man, it's actually kind of shit. Actually, there's only like four.
It is pretty shit. It's so
only
boring.
Like 4 heroes we play. I don't really like the 4 heroes that we play, and I'm not even sure we like the changes. Sam, you were trying to say something.
It's just I think this is where, and Spilo, I think we'll probably take the conversation there. I think in general, Hitscan benefited a lot more than the projectile heroes did from the projectile size increase. It's that in tandem with the DPS passive. Like what's been good in Overwatch, we said this for years on podcasts, is what's the most consistent, right? It's really easy to pick up a lot of these characters and just, I'm not saying they're OP. I'm just saying, like, they're just more consistent. Like, obviously, like, if you have no projectile travel time on, like, Hitscan, like, it's going to be easier, generally speaking, to land those because they're going to be more consistent. And right now, especially with really two of the tanks that you see a lot in ranked being like very, very high sustain tanks. Consistent damage is going to be really, really, really important to continuously mark things, stuff like that. So I think that's kind of where that comes from. Aside from Pharah, who I am excited to get to later, I'm not excited for all the tank players who are going to have to deal with all the Pharahs in their games. Because listen, the cat's out of the bag on Pharah at this point. The cat is out of the bag. She's really, really good. I actually think she's better in ranked than Echo, which is crazy to say. Because of the Season 9 changes. Because again, what's Echo based on a ton? Getting them to the half health mark, right? And so she didn't get any damage increases. She's a little bit more consistent, but it's definitely harder to proc that beam with the sticky combo and stuff like that than it was previously. Though her copy buff was really nice. You can actually sometimes get your ult and copy, which is nice. Unless you shoot a tank, which we'll get there. We'll get there. About
I love Samito's ranks.
Dude,
Okay.
I know. Listen, I know you two remember this. I'm just gonna go real quick. Do y'all remember those games in like OW1 before the tank passive? Because you guys would play Ashe. Those games where you're getting the fat dynamites and you're churning a Bob every fight. That just doesn't happen anymore because of the tank passive. It just frustrates me so much because like and this is why I think DPS feels stale. You don't get big games anymore. Like Spilo said, well, you didn't say that, but remember how we said like there's less pop-off moments? Like those big moments, those star power moments just don't happen as much. Some of that's because of the passives in the game. Like, let's get this 25% headshot crap out of here, dude. I
actually don't like passives, yeah.
Dude, I shot a Roadhog. Okay, I picked Cass. Okay. I nail this hog 4 times in the head on well. I'm like, I almost got this guy. He walks up to me after hitting 4 headshots in a row at 485 health, just hooks me, one-shots me. I'm like, I did everything right, and this dude is at 500 health still. Like, I miss getting big reward when I have my big games. And that's kind of why I think I'm on autopilot now, because it just doesn't feel like I get as much out of those big moments as I used to. And I agree with what Stylosa said that must have been years ago, SVB, where he was like, people play Overwatch for those big moments. The agility 6K blade, the big triple mine tires in the backlines, the quad pulses, right? Deku, the 4 headshots on Widow where you're just turning a corner, boom, 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 boom. That explosiveness, right? That's something that Overwatch captures that you rarely see in Valorant, you rarely see in any other game. That's what made like this game have its niche and the fun. And I just wish we dove more into that instead of it seems like passive value that takes away from it, or like Spilo brainless mitigation. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but
yeah, I want to pose this question to Spilo because, you know, a lot of the things that you're referring to, Sam, it feels like, you know, the devs kind of, you can totally see their thought process and how they arrive at certain things, right? Because, you know, people complain like tanks, oh man, like there's too much burst damage, so we need to up everyone's health, we need to stop one shots. Okay, there's too much, tanks are just getting burnt, they're getting shredded. So okay, we gave them like knockback reduction, we gave them headshot reduction, we changed the armor back, so that you understand why they make these changes. But then overall, you get players complaining that like, well, now the fun is gone. Like, yes, okay, you wanted to help tanks, but now from my side as a DPS player, I don't have like these big pop-off moments anymore. The edge is dulled on everything. So again, we go back to that idea of like, well, at what cost these changes come, right? Like, where's the line where they're good, and where's the line where it's like, actually they've done too much and they're hurting the game now. So yeah, I'm curious about your thoughts as to like how we've arrived here and if this is a good place to be.
I mean, I think what Sam said is just like, nothing should be given for free, right? Like nothing should be given for free. Like if you make a mistake, you should be punished. If you do something well, you should be rewarded. And I think that's where like we have to be. To me, I've always looked at, if we want to lean into the 5v5 tank dynamic, right? And how then it needs to be that the tank has tools, but it has to apply those tools. It wakes up first thing in the morning, it's got the toolbox in the garage, you know, and it's got all these nice tools, but it doesn't have the fort in the backyard built for it, right? Like you actually have to go out there and you have to use the tools that you have to bubble off this and then use this and then parry this and then use your mobility this way. And like that's fine. I think that's fine. Like maybe overtuned because 5v5, but at least there's fine. The problem is that when you give things like the headshot damage reduction and like even like the DPS passive, right? Like I don't feel satisfied securing a kill because I applied the DPS passive. You know, that I didn't choose that. It just happened, right? It wasn't a strategic decision. I don't feel good about it. I don't feel happy. And yet it had a significant impact on the battlefield, right? So anything that doesn't feel like I had any hand in it. It just was given to me. Like obviously, guess we're kind of talking about passives here, but I think that's just a good general rule across the board when we're talking about even hero design. Like I think a lot of the projectile characters, it's like that's why hit scan can feel so satisfying because it always goes, oh, if I just hit that shot, then we would have won, right? Like in fact, that's a trap that a lot of players get into is they overthink their mechanical side of things. But ultimately, that is a good thing. It's where you feel like I can always do a little bit better if I'm just a little bit better. And I think that a lot of the DPS characters maybe don't have that opportunity. And I think a lot of the passive value that we get across the game, across the role, that's not the direction you want to go. Not the direction you want to go. It should be very much like a Winston, right? Where like if you play your cards right with Winston, with your bubble, with your primal, with your bubble dancing, the timing of your engage, landing damage, staging, you could feel almost unkillable and can run the lobby, right? But you compare that with a Roadhog like or Orisa, like even a bad Roadhog, Orisa, Ramattra, Malga, it's actually kind of hard to kill them. Like, right? What does Hawk always say? Like, how can you tell the difference between a good and a bad Ramattra? I challenge you to do that. You can. You obviously can go in the VOD and study the details, but they're extremely hard to tell, and it just doesn't feel like, oh wow, that's a great Ramattra. It's just
the Ramattra forever.
Like,
I mean, so
mitigation isn't fun for anybody.
I'm really curious as to Deku and Jay's thoughts. I'm going to give them an extended session in a second. But before we go there, I want to just, from Spilo, is like, well, we're kind of alluding to, well, passives, right? Like, well, everything is being given passively. Like the armor changes, the health changes, the hitbox changes, the DPS passive. So what's the alternative? Because in a sense, we're saying that like all X heroes need this. Like all the DPS heroes kind of needed something. But then we're saying, well, maybe the passes are too free. What's the alternative? How do we give this overall feeling without a passive?
Well, you have to treat it on a case-by-case basis. You can't give it a passive, like you look at something like sustain's broken, we need to give a DPS passive. No, you don't. You need to address the individual sustain of the characters that have problematic sustain. That's it.
We buffed every support ability too. So that's why like map shift, stuff like that.
This DPS character is struggling, right? So no, they don't. No, I think the too is it's like this is relevant to the DPS because not every DPS benefits from the DPS passive, right? Character like Widowmaker doesn't give a rip about the DPS passive. Character like Hanzo doesn't care about the DPS passive all that much. So then you have a balancing problem where, well, does Hanzo feel bad? Well, no, because he didn't need it. Well, then should we give him something? It's like you really need to go by case basis, and you even have things like the Tracer can spray from across the map and apply the DPS passive. That's not that relevant, but it is another symptom of the problem. So it's like you have to go into like a case by case basis and address what the characters need. I just think you need to be really careful. The only thing that I think should be painted with a broad brush is quality of life stuff. Like I really like the heal passive, right? I freaking love that. I think it's actually been so good for DPS characters that you're not relying on a healer if you do go on a hard flank. Like that just feels good for everybody. That's great. We love that. But competitive combat value, I think, is the key thing that you have to watch out for.
So I'll go to Jay first, then Deku. Jay, do you kind of agree with the sentiment that like it's a lot of this passive stuff that's the reason why you're autopiloting a lot these days?
I do feel like I actually just never really enjoyed passives in general. When we like Samito was talking about the Overwatch 1 stuff, and I do think it's case by case, like Spilo was saying. Tracer does benefit way more than Hanzo does, because Tracer could just spray and apply the passive. Hanzo really can't. So, I mean, unless you go like character by character and give each individual character maybe a passive, I think it would probably be a lot better if they just like removed it. But if they remove it, then you're going to have to like you're going to change most of the characters around. I mean, they got themselves in a nice little hole here.
The way you said that, I don't know why you have this way of saying stuff that makes it sound dodgy, but I mean, the problem is, maybe that's what I project onto Jay. I just think he's a sus guy.
How am I sus? I just said they dug themselves a hole, bro.
you said they've got a nice hole here. But anyways, moving on. What I will say is that there is a consideration on the developer side as well. It's easy for us as players to kind of sit here and be like, this is bad, this is dumb. But like, obviously, it would be great if we could get a case by case answer to everything. But the reason they've done the patch is that it's quicker, simpler, and sort of practical on the dev side, right? It's like the time it would take. We've seen how long it takes to rework heroes. So like it takes dev time. It takes a lot of, maybe months of work. And then even then, maybe sometimes it doesn't come out looking much different than the current iteration. And so we have the passives as like hey, well, we tweak this knob and like everyone is better. Like everyone in this role is stronger. Everyone in this role is weaker. So Deku, I'm gonna take it to you. Do you have any sympathy with like that explanation for why these changes occur? Like, do you think that, okay, I kind of get it. They have to balance this game. It's a live service game. That's why they do these. Or are you kind of the POV of like, nah, I don't really see that as an excuse. I think we gotta work on a case by case basis.
I would like it if they could do like a case by case thing. Like, hey, maybe like Ashe can reload faster because, you know, takes forever for her to reload. That passive that we have now isn't really as useful for her as it is for Tracer, as it is for Sojourn. So I wish they could do that, but it doesn't seem realistic. I don't think. But I'm not sure what else they could do for DPS to be like as strong as it is without like some of them not being able to shine as much as others. So it's a hard decision. I'm not sure.
And you've kind of said that you you just kind of prefer how things were.
I liked it how
go
it
ahead.
was before the hitbox changes and like having more health and stuff like that, but I'm not sure how it'll help the game now if you went back to that. Because if you kept the DPS passive with that, it's just too much. DPS would be way too powerful, right?
Right. So what do you see as like the more ideal state? Like if you were to suggest something right now, like looking at the state of things, where would you lean? Like what do you want to see done?
I don't know. Me personally, I would revert back like the HP and the HP and the hitboxes, and maybe nerf the passive for DPS is like a little bit, so it's like even with it. But maybe that would make it more fun, more pop-off moments for DPS and stuff like that. But other than that, I don't really see a real fix to the game other than going back to 6v6.
You know,
Well,
speaking about that, they
yeah,
should,
go ahead,
sorry, they should make a arcade game mode that's 6v6, the last patch of Overwatch 1. Let's see how that goes and then go from there. They should
If
do
only we
that.
had
They
a
should, they
date
should.
or a patch in mind. I don't know. Maybe somebody has any idea about like what specific month might be a great month for them to go back to. If there was only somebody in this podcast that could have an idea.
Well,
That
obviously
sucks.
we've kind of gone in that direction much with these two on the viewer side. On my right hand side there's Sam and there's Spilo. I will probe a little bit now on Deku and Jay, because you guys are both bringing it up. I'll go to Deku first and then Jay again. It's awful. I think some people would be surprised to hear DPS players feel like, oh, well, actually 6v6 was a lot better, because the consensus is, if I can put it this way, is that the roles that benefited the most from the switch to 5v5 were the DPS and the support players. Like the tanks maybe suffered and are suffering, but they kind of, the consensus was, well, we didn't have a lot of tank players, so we needed to do this. We cut them in half. We solved that. But at least now the DPS players have more room. They're not shooting double shields. The support players can make more plays. What is it that you point to and say, no, actually, I preferred the 6v6 rather than the 5? Like, what is it that you feel like you can't do in 5v5 that we're able to do in 6v6?
You can't get a 6K anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah,
No,
that's very
but I don't
practical.
know.
Unless Jay has pulse bomb.
Oh yeah, true. I don't know. 6v6 just felt more balanced. It felt like you had more. You could do way more different tactics with 6v6. Like you had double bubble. You had Ryan Zarya. Obviously, double shield was an issue, but I feel like they could have just fixed that just by changing Orisa. Maybe like they did change Orisa. Maybe we could go back and Orisa could be how she is now in 6v6, and it'll be like just as good, and not really double shield issues there. But I just miss being able to pop off and get like 4 headshots in a row or 5, and not really. You can't get that anymore. Like it just doesn't happen in 5v5. And also in 5v5, tank just feels so oppressive. Like if I'm alone with a tank, I'm like, uh-oh. That's it. I'm done. GG's. You can't 1v1 a tank. You can't do much as a DPS in that aspect.
What would you say is like stopping you from getting those 4 or 5Ks? Because like, okay, let's say you're playing Widowmaker. Technically you can still get the headshots in, and technically there's like let's leave the tank at the equation, right? You still have 4 other people on the enemy team that you can kill. What would you say is like why you're not able to feel like you get those 4Ks anymore that you maybe could in Overwatch 1?
I feel like there's just no like downtime for, or like not like the fights is always constantly happening if the tank is alive, right? So if your tank is alive and their tank is alive, there's always a fight, right? But as soon as one of the tanks dies, that's when you can pop off. But it's almost impossible to like kill the tank unless you kill the supports first. So it's like, and you can never get to the supports because they're always behind the tank. They got a Suzu, they got a Immortality, they got a TP. So I don't know. Maybe it's just all these new abilities as well that have piled on to it that weren't in 6v6 and that are in 5v5 now as well.
I will let Sam speak again. The reason I haven't already gone to Sam and Spilo is because we've kind of discussed this a lot amongst ourselves.
Yeah, I
in
just
the
want to.
podcast.
I just want to.
So I will go to Sam.
Articulate the feeling, because in 5v5 there are 2 less killable targets on the map for a DPS than were in Overwatch 1 outside of Sigma and Orisa. Right, 1 Roadhog right now is tankier than 2 Zaryas combined in Overwatch 1. And when the power was split between those 2 tanks, instead of all being in one, those were 2 additional options that you had a chance of killing unless they went double shield, BAP, and Brig. Even if they went back to 6v6 right now, it's actually not the tanks they'd have to address. It would have to be the AoE healing and the sustain, because that's what caused those metas. Otherwise, those comps got run over. So that's why you don't feel like you can get those kills. It's because what was the most frustrating thing to go up against in the history of Overwatch? Every meta that's kind of been unfun has been when sustain has been really, really powerful. In Overwatch 1, when that sustain was really powerful, it was a multitude of things coming together in one that required a lot of execution. Now it's just one base Roadhog at his skill floor because he gets that mitigation for free brainlessly that just sits there and right clicks and gets Suzu. It's so much easier to get those sustain heroes to be so insane now than it was before, because there were more variables that had to go into it and be executed on. Now it's just a hog vaping or a Mauga shout going to the entire team and giving them all additional damage resistance and lifesteal. It's goats in one button. So that's why right now you don't see it as much. It's hero design that the format is forcing. So it's a bit of both, and that's where Spilo and I are really glad we had our discussion, Spilo, because that's we really got to the crux of that. But Deku, I hope that builds off of what you were trying to say. I didn't want to speak for you, but I think
No, yeah,
does that
yeah,
make sense?
you said it better, yeah.
No,
It does make
well,
sense.
Spilo and I have been sitting in thinking.
He said it a lot.
Yeah, he's been talking about it. He's got plenty of rehearsal in, so don't worry. You're impromptu.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
got
Sorry to interrupt.
he's got
sorry
a
to
script ready. He's
No,
got a
you're
whole
good, you're good.
Not to mention now 25% less headshot damage. So even when you get the big moments, like it's even like I said, I headshot a hog 4 times in a row. He was like still about 2/3 health. I'm like, I can't kill this guy.
So, Deku, anything you
man.
want to add? Because I want to take it to Jay next. Is there anything you want to chime in and reiterate?
No, that was perfect. That's exactly.
Okay, Jay, like let's take it to you. I don't know how. I don't know if your suggestion of like put 666 in the arcade was that like you personally want it, or you just do it so that we can like end the discussion a little bit and like see how it would look.
Probably just to end the discussion. I feel like I mean, take other games for an example. Fortnite reverted back to their season 1 when the game was like first released. Overwatch should just do that. Try it out. I mean, people like nostalgia, bro. See what people say, because everyone's coming up with theories and people are saying, hey, you missed 6v6 because of the nostalgia, you missed 6v6 because of this, 5v5 is better, and just put it in the game mode, see what people say. If it becomes a very popular game mode, then you would see what you need to do. Hey, what's up, Dad? Sorry, my dad's in the chat.
Yo, what's up, Jay3 Dad?
But yeah, I think just give the people what they want, let them play it. The new players would play it as well, see what they missed out on for the past few years, and if it does pop off, hopefully you could take out mystery hero comp and put a 6v6 comp in there. But I mean, that would bring up splitting the player base then.
It would. I mean, we'll get to the discussion of the practicality of that in a second. But where's your personal preference? Like you started this podcast saying I think I'm having a lot of fun.
Ooh.
But where do you lie? Do you kind of put stock in the 6v6? Like, did you feel it's really hard? I think to remember how you felt 2 years
Your
ago.
YouTube comments are at risk here, Jay.
But how did you feel?
You're screwed, buddy.
What do I prefer right now?
Just in general, like, what do you think? Yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I would say there's some things I miss of 6v6. Like I do miss the tank synergy, like having two tanks, like a Reinhardt, a Zarya. We're never gonna see that unless you're playing open queue or some shit. And then you have the Winston Diva dives. Like I do feel like you're missing out on a lot of those. But and I do miss and that you don't get in 5v5, but you get in 6v6. If you 1v1 a tank on DPS and 6v6, you could have a possibility of winning. If you 1v1 a tank right now, you're gonna get demolished. I don't know where I stand, man. I would say I would like to play the game mode, see what I was missing before, and the nostalgia, but then I can make a decision. I don't know where I stand.
That's totally fair. More people should probably be a bit more like you, where they're like, I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I do prefer 5v5 or if I would like 6v6 again.
That comes from me, like, seeing these hit scan changes in the health boss, where I'm like, what the hell are they doing this for? These changes seem like they're very lazy. Like, why balance the game when you could just give everyone 25 health? But like, then I tried it and I played it and I was like, okay, wait, maybe I was like, talking nonsense before. But I would like to try it. I don't know what I would pick right now, though. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I do miss 6v6, but I don't know if that's because of nostalgia or anything, like I've been saying, or do I like 5v5 now?
And did you feel like the change was better for DPS players, like overall, or like do you feel like actually maybe now you think maybe it wasn't?
What, like 5v5?
Yeah.
Well, when they buffed it back to the passive to 20%, it's always back down to the passive. When they buffed it back to 20%, I felt like I was more useful in the game. When it was 15%, I felt like I was useless.
It's hard to put a blanket on it too. It really depends on the hero. Like Spilo and I talked about this. Like Echo Echo as a hero that like get benefits from like space being open, like had more things open up. And then if you're a Reaper player or a Sim player, you're kind of so it really depends like what you like to play, I think.
Which is again, like I guess that's truly the answer for most things in Overwatch, right? It's like if there was any issue and you're like, well, how do you feel? It's going to be strongly influenced by what heroes you like to play, right? So I think that's always going to be a case. Spilo, to then what Jay3 and kind of Deku as well is bringing up. What do you think? Why do you think they don't put it in the arcade? Why do you think they don't just like, let's just have this discussion, guys. Let's put it in the arcade.
I think it's corporate. I think it's corporate, or not saying that necessarily a totally negative way, but there's something to do with like their business is committed to this. It's like we know that that's one of the blocked questions when Flats had the Q&A with Aaron Keller, right? Like that was not allowed to be discussed. So it's something to do. I don't know if it's developers or the head or the company or whatever. It's just we don't want to talk about it. This is the way that we've committed with things, for better or for worse. And I think like that's why a lot of people are irritated. And I think I probably agree with Jay. I think that it'd probably be, if they could do it, even if it's just for a weekend, to shut people up, give them an opportunity to pull it back in, just to see, because we really don't know. Like 66 could feel amazing. It could feel terrible. Like we don't know. Like we're comparing to something that was almost like 3.5 years ago. That great 2020 patch, right? We just don't know. So just run it down, and I hope at some point that's going to happen. Now I will end this on like a positive note. I distinctly remember haranguing and people asking them maybe 1.5 to 2 years ago, like right when Overwatch 2 came out, about experimental mode. Like where's experimental? Oh, it's not coming back. We didn't get people to play, like all this other bull crap, right? And look what happens. We get quick play hacked. We get April Fool's patch. We get Mirror Watch, right? So they just literally did experimental mode, but they didn't call it experimental mode. And they actually are trying out a lot of these things here. So, maybe they'll, in the same way that they backtrack from that, maybe they'll backtrack from 66 and try something out. I don't want to rehash this. I think Sam and I've said pretty much my entire piece over that. But,
it's just been endless.
Yeah.
Listen. Try it, Blizzard. We know what'll happen. Let's go to specific heroes. We'll stay on this all day if we stay.
Sure. Yeah. I think
agree.
I think, as always, there are cynical interpretations and there are perhaps more forgiving interpretations for why Blizzard do or don't do certain things. So I think it kind of, again, comes down to like what you choose to believe. Like, do you choose to believe it's, as Spilo said, like maybe it's something to do with Corpa, maybe it's like a cynical marketing thing, maybe it's more of a practical thing, maybe it's just that they like the coding. I don't claim to understand anything to do with that game development.
For the replay viewer with the Overwatch League, when they weren't releasing the replay viewer and they literally just said nothing, they said, oh, it doesn't work or it's buggy, which was also totally lies, because I had access to the thing and it worked just fine. but it turned out that was like a Team 4 thing where they didn't want to release it because it was like had this one bug, some legal thing that there was some like, and they just wouldn't say anything. Like occasionally Blizzard just does something really weird, dumb, doesn't communicate, total ghost, and nobody knows why. I don't know. Maybe it's all under NDA. Who knows? If this stuff happens every now and then, you're like, what's going on? It just sucks that it's with something that's this big and controversial.
I can't imagine that's the case here, though, just because I think that it's not that they are oblivious to the demands for 6v6.
No,
right?
of
Like,
course not.
So I think there's probably a reason. They just don't want to talk about the reason for whatever reason that is. Like they have something that they're like, this is the reason why we don't do this. Maybe it's that they believe it's a rabbit hole that they don't want to go down. Maybe, you know, Sam's right. Maybe they like just know that if they gave it, people would like it too much and they'd have to revert on this big marketing push. There's all these potential interpretations. Again, we don't know. We can only speculate. But again, I'll take it back to Deku and Jay before we move on to talking about each specific hero. Deku, Jay, anything? Deku, you first. Anything you want to add?
I mean, about 6v6?
On just the overall state of DPS. Like anything you want to add on
I mean, overall, it's not too bad. I just think it's very stale, the gameplay right now. That's about it. The game just feels stale right now. But maybe the next season will be better. That's what I keep saying.
Jay?
I'm basically on the same. You know, I think the game is just stale at this point. But I mean, I'm still thinking about the 6v6 right now. You guys got me thinking about this.
We got to listen, guys. I feel the collar coming off, so we got to move on. We got to move on. We got to move on.
Sam reminds me of that scene from. Oh, go ahead, Jay. Go ahead. You go.
Oh, I was just thinking. I'm thinking of all these possible scenarios that they could have done. Like, just make if you were playing tank, one shield viable, and you can't lock another shield tank. Man, you know what I miss? In Overwatch 1, there was a season where everything was viable. You could play anything, and it was so fun. And even Siegel came back and made a video about it. And then Blizzard fucking did something, and it fucked everything up.
Jay is like a heroin addict. Like, look, Sam, look.
Well, I was only gonna say,
Sam, man.
Sam is like that. Reminds me of that scene from Finding Nemo when they've got like the shark party, and the sharks are like, fish are friends, are friends, and they're all here gathered. And then like that one little whiff of blood comes in, and suddenly he's like, "Oh, it's coming over me, guys! Hold me back!
What does the shark say? Oh, that smells good. Is that what the shark says?
I don't remember now.
He's got a little whiff. Oh,
he's just gonna save shit from that one.
Listen, I have 2 scoops of blue raz in me right now, so we don't move on now. It's gonna be
let's
a
go.
long
Okay.
podcast. Let's
I
go.
mean, as it is, this is a
metaphor or what? Like, what?
Don't worry about it, Spilo. That's some old lore, dude. All right, let's
Okay.
ask Salt Shaker about it. Just ask Salt Shaker about it.
Okay. So we kind of alluded to. I mean, it's kind of interesting. Again, I think it's just the nature of when we discuss things. Like we do tend to gravitate towards the problems. Like it's harder to pinpoint. Like I'm enjoying X, Y, Z because when we started this discussion, the sentiment was vaguely positive. I would say, like you guys are like, yeah, it's not bad, but as we've kind of delved in a little bit deeper, it's kind of like the sentiment seems to be that it's a bit stale, it's a bit boring. It feels like maybe the pop-off potential isn't there. Maybe
Can
we'll
I say one last thing.
Yes, go ahead, Spilo. Go ahead.
I just interjected. I'm going to say something a little rude here, but it is true. I think when you have people that play the game for a living, anything is going to be stale when you play the game for 6, 7, 8 hours a day, and that's your
true,
job.
yeah.
Sure.
My impression, I don't play the game nearly enough to like let it be stale. When I play occasionally, I enjoy it. The people I work with and coach with that are generally like casual, even the ones that are in like masters, they're playing like a couple hours a day, right? Generally a little bit more positive. I think anything just like you rep it out, like it just is gonna feel stale. I will say that there's certain metas and heroes, like we've talked about this, that just make everything feel a lot worse the more that you play it. Like everyone gets, like Jay was saying, like shooting the Malga for the 700th time, right? But even a good game will feel stale if this is what you do for 3 months, right? And the next season, right? This is how it goes. Which, to be fair, has been better since we're not having like glacial patch changes. This stuff actually happens. Yeah.
I think this is a really good point you brought up, and I want to add to it. And this is something that I guess feel free to chime in on as well. I think this is actually bigger than just Overwatch as well, and not even just people who play for a living. I think you guys who play Overwatch for a living, it accelerates the process. But I think any game, given enough time, people get really bored. And I look to Apex Legends right now, which I've seen from the outside looking in. Their community has been kind of like, look at how dead our game is. And I saw someone share a screenshot that Apex Legends recently had the lowest concurrent player count since 2021, like on one day in like last week. it had its lowest player count since 2021, and I think they're suffering the same issue, which is just like ultimately when your game has been out for a long time and people have all kind of played it, they all kind of know what the whole shtick is. Like you kind of get bored if it isn't something drastic. And looking at any game that has been around as long as Overwatch, like there's maybe like single digit games that last 10 plus years as live service, right? Like single digit, like I'm thinking like Dota, League of Legends, Counter-Strike. I can't even think of many more. Minecraft.
One more thing. I think a lot of those games that maintain people have way better competitive reward system. So we don't necessarily need to open that can of worms, but I think that's probably the biggest reason is Overwatch doesn't reward you for playing a lot. There's no reason to play outside of rank. So I think people would probably feel more of a sense of accomplishment if the season was fun, right? Obviously, but then also that there was some sort of incentivization, which I think has been a huge weakness of Overwatch literally since its launch.
Border system V2. Those borders in Overwatch 1, they were gorgeous. 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 Gorgeous.
And that was
League
pathetic
Legends.
compared to what other games have, right? Like that,
Yeah.
and then we lost that too. So yeah, I agree.
I
actually
agree with
don't
the sentiment.
understand that,
I'm
yeah.
not sure. Oh, go ahead, Jay. You go.
No, I just don't understand. Like the borders were so fucking cool, but now we have this like level.
The levels, yeah.
The
and
level
they don't even
is
show.
basically-
Yeah.
It's basically
Yeah.
the same shit.
It's like a scuffed like Call of Duty from 2008 to 2016 esque, prestige system. I guess I don't know. I'm not trying to be a hater on it. I love the borders. I got my diamond border right at the end too, and I was like, this looks clean. It looks.
Oh
clean.
man, I got called a virgin so many times, dude.
You were a 5-star for a long time, dude. You were a 5-star for a long time, but I split mine out between different accounts. So oh well.
I will say I'm not personally convinced that that's a significant reason. I just off of my own experiences, like playing Dota, I have no fucking clue what the progression system even is. Like the only thing that I'm looking at is like, is my rank going up or down? I don't even know if there's like is there a level system? Like there are like relics that you can level up and like you can show off like how much you spent X time on X hero, but like I feel like that's a thing that engages players to play more. It doesn't engage players to play. And I think that's like the difference where it's like I don't know if whatever carrot and stick you would offer would be enough to get people to play Overwatch if they're just not fundamentally happy with Overwatch. And I think that's where like the problems lie. I think the other if I was to point at a singular reason, which it never is, it's always much more complicated than that, is that those other games have just kept their communities happier in the general gameplay elements of what they are. Like League and Dota, they're very stable in terms of like the baseline, and they do innovate. And CSGO, again, I can't really speak for it too much, but like it's CSGO, like you know what it is. So I don't know. Deku,
They're doing something right.
They
League
are.
of Legends, like you just mentioned, League of Legends has been around for a while, and look at their scene. Their scene is still kicking ass. They just came out with a $500 skin. Imagine if that came out for Overwatch. what would happen?
Hey, we are getting Pink Mercy back. You know that? Did you all see money
Pink
before
Mercy.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say Pink Mercy. If the people are getting mad at Pink Mercy because it's going for a good cause, I don't know,
stupid.
bro.
That's stupid.
It's so stupid.
You know what they're mad about? They're mad that their black market got crashed. There were Pink Mercy accounts going for like $1,000, and I just think that shit is so funny. I'm sorry. I just think.
I don't understand people who are even buying that in the first place.
Careful.
Can you imagine if they had a
Mercy Mafia,
$500 breast cancer skin? Like how cancer would just be cured.
Yeah, honestly, yes.
Millions of people would be broke, but like
you gotta go after. Listen, it's the K-pop stuff and the Mercy stuff combined. It's like that's Nobel Peace right there. It's over. It's done. It's done.
Yeah.
That's how we get back. That's how we get back. We end world hunger just by selling Mercy skins.
Right there. That's it right there.
Deku, I want to take any your thoughts on just the longevity maybe at Overwatch and like looking at other games and how maybe there's the same malaise going through them.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Yeah, I've been playing Overwatch since, I want to say season 12 of Overwatch 1. So, like, or season 11. Like, right before Break came out, that's when I started. And, I don't know. I feel like the game gets better, then it gets worse. Then it gets better, then it gets worse. Right now, it's just been like a flat line in Overwatch 2, I feel like. When it first came out, it felt really, really good, and then it just flatlined. But I don't know how to remedy that, because you've just been playing the game for so long, and eventually it does get boring, right? So
I agree. I think there's
what was the question?
Just like how do you feel about the overall state of like games like Overwatch, like live service games that are this old?
I mean, To be honest, I only play Overwatch. Pretty much, that's the only game I play. I have dabbled into Valorant, but it's just like when you get a game that's like Overwatch, that's like ADHD and like always going. It's like you can't slow down and play like a game like Valorant. You can't slow down and play like a game like Fortnite either. Fortnite is like even crazier than Overwatch in my opinion. Like buildings just come up out of nowhere. Like I don't know. It's really hard to move on from Overwatch to a different game that isn't similar at all. But I did try Marvel's Rivals, and that one kind of felt pretty good. Kind of similar to Overwatch. Like when you popped off, it actually felt maybe even better than Overwatch right now
Tiny
currently.
bit of insight. One of my
Yeah.
viewers, there was a Q&A with the developers, and he like used one of my video. He like asked a lot of questions from the videos, and one of the questions was about the hero release. Supposedly, they said that the heroes are not going to be paid gated, just cosmetics.
Oh, you mean Rivals?
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
kind of
So the
sick,
unowned is perhaps a bit was a maybe something they flirted
So we'll
with
see.
and
That's
backed out.
that's what they said. So
Okay. I'll quickly take it to Jay before we move on to specific heroes because we've been talking about a lot of the broad picture stuff. Jay, on this issue, like, have any other games ever turned your head? Because Sam and Spilo, we talked about like Rivals and stuff. So have any other games turned your head at all, Jay?
I wanted to try the Marvel Rivals. I sadly was not home when it came out. One game that I'm very excited about is that Steam game. Apparently, that's been
Deadlock.
Deadlock. I'm very
Deadlock.
excited for that, but also it's Steam, so I mean, it can only go for so far. Like Left 4 Dead 2, Team Fortress 2. They can only
True.
count to 2. So I'm down to try some games. I mean, it's always healthy competition is always good between games.
I agree. Yeah.
So, I mean, because Overwatch, I'm gonna be honest with you, Overwatch, the reason why I'm still playing it is because it's a game in its own. I mean, I don't even know what I just said, but it's a very unique game. I love it. I like how fast paced it is. It reminds me of TF2, but I started playing it now. It's just that no game has came close to it. Maybe Paladins, but look at Paladins.
It's not the same.
So games like this, like Marvel Rivals, and it's good that they're going to be, competing against each other, and that's what hopefully that lights a fire under Blizzard's ass to change the game a little bit. I mean, I can't say much more because I actually have not tried the other games, but I'm very excited. The competition is
Marvel.
very good.
Marvel felt like it was the first game that like actually felt like Overwatch from the second that you picked.
Really,
it up.
even
It
the
was
third
fun.
person?
Yeah.
I thought the same thing, and then I played it and I was like, oh no, like I'm addicted. Like I played it all week. It was so much fun. Jesus,
Yeah,
I was a
I
little
mean,
Black
yeah.
Panther one trick.
Oof. I want to try it, but I think games like that will be good. Even if like it lights a fire under Blizzard's ass and they start changing stuff for the better, hopefully, or they start looking at other games and like League of Legends. Let's say League of Legends and Counter-Strike, their pro scene and their scene has been going on for years and they're older games. Maybe take some ideas from that. Maybe like you guys were saying, like the progression from leveling up and whatnot. Maybe they could change some stuff with that.
It will be interesting to see. I think Rivals in specific and Deadlock whenever it comes out are the most direct rivals to Overwatch, no pun intended, in maybe ever. So, and it's also interesting that they're all coming out at this roughly the same time. Like there was that weird Chinese game that had copied Gibraltar. I'm sure you guys saw this
Oh,
Twitter,
yeah.
this Twitter clip where they had literally copied Gibraltar, the map, like down to every single significant note, but it was just like some budget rip-off game. So it's interesting. We'll see how it goes. But for now, let's talk each of the DPS heroes, and we'll go alphabetical here. But we're gonna start. Actually, I'm looking at the Overwatch website for the heroes, and they've actually put Venture first right now because new, it says. So actually, let's do that. Let's go with Venture first. They are still the newest hero, and they really received some significant buffs recently. So how do we feel about Venture at the moment? Spilo, I'll go to you first. Haven't heard from you in a bit. How do you feel about Venture now? Thumbs up.
Fine. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to take a look, obviously, always at like the power level and the burst level, and maybe there's a little actually since the quality of life, it's really a buff, but the quality of life changed about the burrow cooldown, which is something I've been shrieking about since Venture's launch. I was like, please do this. This feels so bad. They have to do order, and they did it. I was like, yes. But now maybe it feels like there's like actually like very few vulnerability windows. So maybe there could be like a couple like minor tweaks with how the cooldowns work, like super small stuff. But I don't know. I have fun playing Venture. Venture can be tough to play versus, but it's not like unstoppable. I mean, I don't know. I don't like every hero is gonna feel bad when it's played well. Like every hero is gonna feel like a little bit oppressive in some way, shape, or form. I think I've enjoyed playing Venture. I don't hate playing versus Venture. There are windows of vulnerability if you hit your shots, if you hit your CC. I can see that there might be some disagreement or frustration around some of their combos and burst stuff, but like I don't know. It's high skill. There's like a good skill ceiling. There's a good value ceiling. It was fun watching them in over to OWCS recently over in Dallas. I don't really have any major complaints.
It's interesting. Spilo maybe has watched the last episode of the podcast. He starts with the thumbs up, thumbs down, because last episode we had Dante come on, and every time we discussed a tank,
I didn't notice.
we would ask him, because he was like, yeah, this hero is all right. He's honest hero, and we then would go around and ask him on every hero is like honest or dishonest hero. So,
yeah, I would say mostly honest than to use Danteology.
To use the Danteology. I'll take it to Deku next. Deku, how do you feel about Venture? Like, you happy with them?
I think Venture is good right now, like well balanced, not too OP, not too weak. Like the only complaint I have about them is sometimes I never hear them like coming, and I'm just like pushed forward into their team, and then I'm dead. That's about it. But I think they're a good hero right now. They're balanced. They're in a good spot. I have no complaints. I see them a lot in comp, so I think that's great. Like, doesn't need to be touched right now.
Jay, how do you feel? Honest, dishonest hero?
I feel like the character, it's the newest character. I feel like the character should be a little strong, because I mean, if the character was really weak like Lifeweaver, everyone would be like really down on it. But I feel like the character is very strong. I do feel like they're just making all the new characters. They're not even heroes anymore. All the new characters are like superheroes, bro. They do too much, man. But that's how I feel. I don't know. She's strong. I mean, they're strong.
What do you mean when you say too much? Like, what do you think Venture does too much?
Well, I mean, you have a burrow, and you can contest cart just like Reaper Fade, I guess. But then you have shields every time you use your ability. And then, I mean, you have this drill dash, and then you also have like your left click that really doesn't even, like, you got to aim close. If you aim close, you hit your shot. The combos are really strong though. I like the combos.
To be devil's advocate, though, I feel like whenever you take an action in Venture, there's risk. And I think that's something that we've desperately been needing. Like, not just CC, but like you do, like Burrow isn't a get out of jail free card, right? I think they specifically wanted to avoid that, like the Reaper Wraith problem. Like, you could die. You could get CC'd, you could get shot. And I agree that there's like, it is a loaded kit, but there are also like some weaknesses. Like, there's vulnerability windows, there's like extremely, like very range limited, right? So, yeah.
Sam, how about you? You were big on Venture on release. Are you big again?
I was big on Venture at first, and I was down on Venture hard, and now I'm right back. So I think the change they made so much better, because if you want to get the most out of your cooldowns, like you had to find a way to drill in burrow, but the change they made gave you the option to drill first and then burrow and get your drill. So so many more options there. I have one request about Venture. I'm on my hands and knees begging for this one, okay? One of the most fun parts about old DPS Doom, Jay, I'm not trying to bring back nightmares. He was corny, I admit it.
Oh my.
But there was one thing that was really nice, is when you punched, you could still turn your camera before.
Yeah.
And the most frustrating part about Venture is when you use your drill, you're screen locked. The same thing is on Sombra, which they need to just disable the setting. If you want to learn new Sombra and be good at new Sombra, I'm literally the only I'm like the only player that I've seen that plays Sombra consistently in top 500. I see none anymore. Like, now it's just like an anti-ball pick, but like, I'll pick Sombra all the time. The disable translocator camera lock, where there's a split frame where you throw your translocator or Sombra. If that setting's on, it's on by default. It locks your camera in place, and players don't know to turn it off. So I don't even think that should be a setting, because like with Venture, when you drill, you can't turn your camera. But like when I was playing DPS Doom, and even with Doom now, you could turn your camera while you're punching and like kind of be looking around. The screen lock feels really bad. So you can keep my movement, like keep my cursor like locked on so you can't turn with your drill, but I should still be able to free look with my drill to find the targets. And like, it feels really, really clunky. I would love to play Venture without that screen lock in particular. It's so frustrating. It gets me stuck so much, and I can't stand it. But
It's
like
funny you
DPS
mentioned Doom, because Quake
What's
was
up?
the one that brought my attention to it.
Really?
on the
What'd he
Venture thing.
say?
Yeah, he said something on Twitter like right when Venture was released. Hey, can we please change that because the lock and the drill. I swear it was quick.
It's
which was funny.
every hero that they've put a forced screen lock on when using an ability has felt so bad, and I think they should disable it for Sombra too. Like it shouldn't even be a setting. Like I don't name one player in an FPS that likes having their screen locked. It'll never happen, right? So I think they should just probably get rid of that. But otherwise, I think the change was really great. The ult feels a little situational and or like completely weak because so many of these heroes have mobility. Kiryu just wall climb. Cassidy is a 3-shot with the ult from max range. Like I like so that's I think a little much.
It might be a 4-shot if you roll at the right window too.
Well, that's with him not using any cooldowns. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, okay, like that is the kind of hero that my ult should be good against. Like he's on the ground, and I hit the 3 or 4 shot. I'm like, come on. So I maybe some looks at that, but otherwise, I think at least the CD, like they figured out the CD usage, which is good, and I think that was the big problem to start.
Yeah, I think some really great feedback. I'm sure the devs will be appreciative of that, and what Deku mentioned as well about the audio. So nice. Okay, good rounded discussion on Venture. Let's move on to Ashe, which will be right in the territory of both Jay and Deku. So we'll go to Deku first. Deku, Ashe, how is she feeling right now?
I'm not gonna lie, Ashe feels kind of mid right now. I feel like, but it's only because if you, I wouldn't even say you don't even need a Mercy to play Ashe anymore. But like, if they run like any kind of dive, you just can't run Ashe no matter what. It doesn't matter. You just have to go and default to Cassidy or Tracer yourself. She doesn't feel as impactful right now, and I'm not sure why. But that's just my opinion on Ashe right now. Like, I'd rather go Cassidy than Ashe on most maps, even though I used to play Ashe way more than Cassidy, and I thought Ashe was better. But now she just feels beneath him.
I see Unsolved Soul's not having a good time in ranked there, but okay, so you kind of feel like maybe Ashe is like maybe the weakest hit scan of the bunch. Deku?
I can't talk right now because there's
Okay.
so much
Okay, sure.
room, but
So let's.
I think she's weaker right now. Out of Cass and Ashe, I'd pick Cass on almost every map right now.
Okay. We'll move on to Jay while Salt has his moment. Jay, how do you feel about Ashe?
I think I have a different approach to it. I think if it's maps that are very flat, I think Cassidy's a lot better. But if it's like maps with a lot of high ground, like New Bonnie or like Dorado first, I think Ashe is pretty good because even if they dive you, you can use your coach gun to knock the Winston off the high ground and keep the high ground, and you can use your verticality to get the high ground easily. So I think Ashe is balanced. I don't think she's one of the characters where if they touch her, they shouldn't touch her.
Interesting. Okay. Sam, Ashe.
I think she's good in the spots where she should be good. She's definitely not the best, but I think that's kind of what she's supposed to be. Did she get any damage changes from into season 9? I don't think she did, right?
I don't think she did. No.
I think Bob did. I think Bob did, right? I think they adjusted Bob, and I think Bob's a really solid ult. If they aren't running an Ana, he gets a ton of value. I think. I will say I do think she was a loser coming into Overwatch 2 net because again, like those big games I talked about previously where like even I would love to pick Ashe sometimes if they were running double shield or they were running not Diva, where you could get some fat dynamite farms. And I think God, I would love to see how she would do without the ult charge passive on tanks. Because if you were like the way I played Ashe, like in Overwatch 1 when I just really kind of flexed around, I didn't feel like playing Hanzo, I guess. Was like I would just churn Bobs out. And like Bob in Overwatch 1, granted, was way better than Bob now. Like she definitely needed the nerf, but I still think he'd be really good. I wonder how she'd do if that got changed. Because that was my favorite part about Ashe was getting like if they picked like Bat Brig or they picked Brig Carry, whatever it could end up being in this game, and they didn't have a stop to Bob, he could put in so much work. And that was my favorite part about Ashe personally. It was just churning out those Bobs. I loved that. But I think she's in a good spot.
Spilo, do you concur? Good spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's in an okay spot. I think she benefited a lot in 66 because the AoE damage of Dynamite was like more stacked, big clumps, big targets, big value, damage boost, one shot everybody. But I think like Ashe is kind of like the sniper that Overwatch 1 should have always had, like the much healthier version of Widow. There's a lot of range pressure. I think the problem that is in Overwatch 2 is that there's a little bit more of a mobility creep, which we've talked about before. And she's definitely not a very mobile character, at least compared to a lot of even the other hit scans. Like a Cassidy can move a lot more frequently than Ashe, not because of role, but because he doesn't have the scope, right? So he's just able to move a lot more fluidly. There was a period of time during Jote's meta, you guys might remember in Overwatch, like the Junkrat Queen, big clump comp. A lot of teams were running Ashe, and it was very difficult to run Ashe though if you had to do a lot of like kiting and pushing and pulling because she just can't shoot while she can move like Sojourn can. So I think if Ashe were to get anything, it would just be the ability to like maybe reposition a little bit quicker. But I do think that she's like an Ana as in Zenyatta, where like there's cooldown management involved, there's risk management involved, there's a lot of reward. I think Ashe, if left uncontested, might be the most lethal damage in the entire game in terms of like consistent and constant pressure. It's just sometimes that she struggles when she's under pressure a little bit. But I think like overall pretty decent spot right now. I've sent an Ashe one trick in my chat. He says that maybe if anything, look at some of the break points which have changed since season 9.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think she's fine.
She's still one shot in the head on Tracer.
Nope.
No.
Unless you're damage boosted, I think. That used to be so good, man. When you one-shot Tracer, it's so satisfying. Don't get that anymore.
I miss that.
Same for May. We'll get to May, but yeah, that I
So
feel like
even on the receiving end though, Jay, like you were alright receiving it as a Tracer?
Yeah. I'd say if I died, I would have been like, God damn, that was a good shot. Yeah.
Okay, someone bring up the clips to verify that is Jay3's perspective when he got headshot as by an Ashe. Let's definitely fact check that. Deku, you're as well. You kind of feel like maybe the breakpoints are another thing is on top of the mobility.
Yeah, I mean, she just feels like, why would I go Ashe when I could just go Cass and it'll be easier, 10 times easier dealing with the enemy's comp or moving away and everything like that. Her mobility is lacking a bit, but she's not too bad. But I just feel like, why pick Ashe when I can just go this?
Right. Which is an existential problem I think a lot of Overwatch heroes have, is that it's not that they are inherently bad, it's that what they're doing someone else does better, and you're kind of left without an incentive to pick them.
Yeah, also, like, if I see an Ashe on the enemy team, I just go Widow, because you just got the range
she
on
just
them.
can't win that duel, yeah.
You just can't win it, so.
Ashe did benefit from the Hanzo indirect nerf as well, because it freaking sucked playing Ashe into Hanzo when he just is better at every range than you are, and you're just going to get one shot if you can peek him. So at least that was one nice thing.
I mean, if the problem is mobility, the Overwatch 2 solution would just be the 2 coach guns, like instead of one, you have 2, the classic one more coach gun. Okay, well.
Also, her reload as well is annoying, but yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, because the passive, she was she definitely lost something with that passive for sure.
Another good point. I think Deku, you brought it up earlier as well. Let's move on to the ominous figure looming behind Spilo, which is Bastion. Spilo, I think we have to start with you. Why the Bastion background, and what are your thoughts on him?
I mean, it's just the classic DPS, right? Like, just brain dead, turn your brain off, shoot the enemy tank. That's what you got to do, right? That's what all the content creators tell me to do. No, I mean, Bastion aside, like, I just think he's just kind of a flawed concept, because I think like the character itself is like kind of cool, and he's got some personality, and he's interesting, and his lore is all nice. But like, what is the character's identity? And I don't think we really know that. And I do think that they're aware of this. I think that, like, going back even to like the Mirror Watch event, I think that was one of those secret, we're actually testing things out with Bastion moments. So we'll see. I think that Bastion, his current state right now is weak, and that's where he should be until they figure out where he is. I actually really like a lot of the nade. The nade's pretty fun to use with. The nade jumps are fun. I actually don't think the recon weapon feels too bad. It's a little tricky to aim sometimes. Like, that fire rate's awkward, but like, I think it's all right. Like, but it's just, turret enemy tank. So I think I assume that they're working on that though. Who knows?
Sam?
To add on to that, I guess I'll go. I think he's definitely middle of the pack at best, if not weak. One thing that people don't talk about with Bastion a lot is that his recon form crit damage feels a lot higher than some of the other heroes. It actually feels good. So maybe they need to lean into that instead of the Sentry form. It does more damage. Like, it definitely, like, when I've been playing Bastion, I get a crit. I'm like, okay, wait, that's actually quite a bit of damage. It felt pretty good. I like the grenade a lot. Hot take. I think they really messed up and should have flip-flopped what his ultimate was in Overwatch 1 for Overwatch 2. I think configuration tank was so much more fun of an ultimate that would have been way better for Overwatch 2 and 5v5 than what it was in 6v6. And the problem I ran into is that, again, like towards the end, it was just double shield. And so you're better off staying in Sentry. But I loved rocket jumping in that ult. Like, it was super skill shoddy, right? And I think artillery would have been better against double shield previously than it is now, where everybody has the mobility now. And if they had used the mobility now, like, imagine a Sojourn sliding and it's like, oh, I'm hitting that shot. Like, I dare you to slide, because you jump at the end of that slide and I'm flicking you at that projectile. I'm going to drill you, right? And just one shot kill. Do you think it's too late for them to be considering doing that, bringing back configuration tank? I'd love to see that.
It wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't change anything. Like the old, they wouldn't have to really change anything that I know. I mean, I don't know jack all about coding, but in terms of hero design, you could just literally plug and play, and it.
That might just be a random ask, but I liked the old ult a lot more. I think it was super fun, skill expression, like, and it was unique. And you just hear the doo, 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 and then the Bastion's just coming out. It's just I don't know. I missed that, but I think other than that, middle of the pack are weak.
I need a ringtone of just Samito doing the Bastion ult.
Yeah, somebody needs to clip on it.
You know how many Salt Shaker duos I had playing Bastion, man? Trust me, it's
man.
engraved in here on Old East Coast.
Yeah,
so
I hear you.
Jeez Louise.
Jay, how about you? You kind of, do you feel like middle of the pack? Yeah, kind of weak.
I feel middle. I think his grenade's a lot of fun, and it's really strong. I remember playing Bastion a few seasons ago, and he was a lot of fun. But I think he's in the middle of the pack now. He's very big. A very big hitbox. Sojourn would just farm rail him. Cassidy as well, Yeah, I don't see a lot of Bastion players as well. I only run Bastion if I see like Bowie on the other team, and I know he's not going to switch off Reinhardt. Make his life a little hell, but that's about it.
That's fair. Which I'm sure a lot of Reinhardt players are crying in Bastion noises there. We're hearing that's your approach. Deku, how about you? Honest, dishonest hero?
I think he's in between. He's middle of the pack because he's not crazy like strong how he was a couple seasons ago against tank, but I think he's still a good pick for me, at least if I see like Winston and I don't play Reaper or anything, and I just get pissed off. Like, I'm trying to play Widow and they on Winston diving me, I'll just go Bastion and make him swap. So he's a good character if I want to piss off the enemy tank. That's about
I
it.
hate you so much.
I know. This is like the exact thing that people
Your
hate
turn, Spilo.
playing
Smell the
tank
blood,
for.
buddy.
Yeah, I mean, that's your pet peeve, Spilo. I mean, we don't even need to dwell on it. I think we know what's coming. So we're going to move on in the interest of time as well to talking about Cassidy. Sorry, I opened up, if you heard weird ambient noises, because I have Outer Wilds alt tabbed because I was still playing it before the podcast. You might have heard like fire crackling noises. I accidentally opened it up.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Cassidy, because this has already been, you've already been mentioned. You guys have already brought him up a few times. And I'll go to Deku first, actually, because Deku, you kind of directly said, well, why would I play Ashe when I can play Cassidy? And I see a lot of Cassidy. So you feel like Cassidy's in a strong place right now?
Yeah, I feel like he's really good right now. I see him picked almost every single game. Trust me, because I try to pick him and then someone else picks him and I can't pick him. But yeah, overall, I think he's a well-rounded character. So he can deal with a lot. He can deal with dive. He's not too immobile where he can't move with the team. Like, he can play in like a rush comp as well. He's in a good spot, so I wouldn't even touch him.
Jay.
His nade's annoying though, but
Oh, well, for sure. I'll rant about that if no one else does. But Jay, how do you feel?
I think the health buff gave him, he's very viable now. He's strong. I don't know how they're gonna nerf him or change him. Maybe change the nade. I'm sorry, but the hinder is such a stupid ability, bro. Just bring back stun at this point, man. I think stun is a little bit better than that. But I think he's very strong right now in the current state of the game.
What is it that you find frustrating about the hinder over the stun?
Bro, have you ever played Tracer and you're juking the Cassidy, but he throws a nade and then you blink behind him, but the nade goes whoop, it comes right back to you? It's so dumb. Or like he throws a nade and then you blink behind a wall and the nade just goes whoop. Like, that's so stupid. I hate it. Also, I think it was a skill back then when there used to be a stun, when you knew he was going to throw the stun and you jump a little bit, so you get stunned while jumping and they miss their headshot and then you can just recall right after that and you live. I don't know, man. I hate hinder. Hopefully they change it.
I mean, they have They have said they were gonna. So Sam, you go ahead. You
Yeah.
go off. We've talked about this a few times.
It was a skill. Like, okay, this is a mistake. I want to say we made as a community where we talked about CC in Overwatch 1. And remember how we all complained about CC, and then devs were like, okay, we'll nerf CC, and then they nerf things like Rhine Shatter stun time, and it's like, wait a minute, that's not what we're talking about. Brig stun,
that
Big
was
Rock,
dumb.
over cast stun is another one of them where it's like that was a huge skill matchup for most characters. Tracer the blink timing, Genji the deflect timing too. Like that was a skill matchup. Now Hinder is not like that at all because like if you make the blink play and you accurately like go around them, or even a Sombra, it's so frustrating because I only have one translow. There was a clip today. I got a little mad. I'm playing Hollywood, okay? We're attacking first. Sombra, the only play you have really to set up that flank angle is like I went around back left, harassed backline, forced BAP drone, transload to the elevator and went up. The cast from the point threw a hinder up and it went and stuck me up there where I wouldn't have been at risk if it was old stun because I played my range right. And then of course rack attacks in the skybox and Lucio. I'm sitting there for a second and a half, just can't move. And I just explode. I'm like, all right, maybe I should have played that better. It's just really corny. The lockout time is longer. I don't think it's better. And like it definitely was a skill matchup before because you could do the jump time. Like you had a ton of like little micro options that made the game so much fun in Overwatch 1 that I think they should just bring back the old stun. And the real problem I think was Flash Fan too against tanks, but that's just me. As for the rest of the character, he's just overtuned. Right, I don't want to say overpowered. I just think he's overtuned. I think he just has a little bit too much. The damage resistance on roll is insane. The damage resistance on high noon is insane. Like I liked it when high noon, like it actually mattered. Like now he just pops it in front of me, and I can't kill him. And it's just again, it's passive value. And I don't like that. But I'm not sitting here saying like he should get gutted. He's just a huge. I think he won in every aspect from. The health changes, the projectile size changes, the roll has just been getting buffed constantly. I think he just has a little bit too much. Like, why should he do all that? But as Venture, for example, my ult is probably like a 3-shot won't kill him because he'll have 1 cooldown, right? I just think he's a little too good, and I think they should look at just one small part of his kit and walk it back a little bit. But they definitely should not like gut the hero or anything. But I think he just pick him in ranked and autopilot. That's pretty much it.
Again, you can
What
tell.
I'm gonna do after this.
Yeah.
You could tell again people's experience coming through because we got Get Quaked on in chat who's like, kill Cassidy in the lore, just got him right now. So I think there's a little bit of an influence on what you play there. Spilo, how do you feel about Cassidy?
Have you ever seen a pro Cassidy play the game like in an OWCS mirror, like pro meta? Like it's really funny watching them use Hinder because they'll just throw it. They'll just like throw it like 20 meters away. Like the cooldown is like irrelevant because it just like it's like one of those cooldowns that we really hate where it's top heavy, right? Where in some circumstances versus the right hero in the right circumstances, there's no counterplay. You throw it versus Quaked on Doomfist, it's over. Bye, bud. Like you're done. Or if your Tracer gets, I have a clip here on when I was spectating an OWCS match where like the Cassie just did the thing. You just threw it across the map. It accidentally stuck on a Tracer, who then tried to blink away, but because it got closer, she couldn't, get rid of it, and it killed her. Like he wasn't even aiming for her; he just like threw it across the map, and like that's like the perfect example of like I think what ended up happening is that people didn't like stuns. So, like slow, you can still play the game, like you can still shoot and stuff. But the problem is that the slow lasts longer, correct? But the other thing is that the stun was like a skill shot, like because it was so brief, you had to get the timing just right. This Hinder is a lot less skillful. So when I got stunned by Cassidy as a Genji or a Tracer, it was more like, all right, that's annoying, but you know what? Okay, fair. But if you get hindered, you're much less likely to be impressed. I'm not impressed if you hindered me. I'm not impressed. I'm annoyed,
One thing I want to bring up is that they have said in that AMA that they're going to make the magnetic grenade like flashbang. So does that alleviate some of your annoyance with it?
I don't know. I have to wait and see. I appreciate they're adjusting it, but I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it just needs to be like a cooldown that he can actually use for a purpose, because I think that's the problem with Hinder is it's almost strictly used defensively, and it's like terrible offensively, right? Like it's not very effective offensively, and so I think that's kind of one of the problems. So we'll see with the rework. Aside from that, yeah, I'd say just a little bit of a bloated kid right now, just a little bit too bad. I like that he actually has like an identity right now, which kind of feels like the close range hit scan, right? Whereas before the fall off change, the guy was just better than Ashe, better than and he has benefited a lot from the season 9 changes because Hanzo Sojourn really fell off with the whole like range stuff. But I don't think that he's like necessarily needs to be gutted. I think Hinder needs to be looked at. I think maybe a little bit of the tankiness can be taken down. But I don't have any huge problems with Cass. Like he's been pretty dominant in meta, but like unless I'm a Doomfist player, you know, or unless I'm getting flash fanned as like a Winston player, it's not. There's a lot of other worse heroes that I could be playing versus.
Deku, I'll take it back to you and Jay as well. Like, do you think sometimes we kind of misdirect where the problem is? Because like maybe it's the right click that's what people were really annoyed at beyond. You know, like it's like I don't think anyone objects to the left click of a Cassidy. It's like the right click, the mass HP, and the hinder. Obviously, that kind of get annoying.
Probably the most annoying part of his kit is definitely the hinder.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the right click is necessary sometimes because tanks just always get up in your face, and it's like the only way to defend yourself as Cassidy against a tank. So I don't mind the right click as much as I do the hinder. The hinder's annoying. Like Samito said, I prefer the stun from Overwatch 1 because like it's only like a second, and you can easily dodge it, right? You can bait it out. It wasn't that bad. This is worse.
Jay?
It was funny. I forgot who mentioned it, but I remember playing an Eichenwald, and I didn't want to say it and interrupt. I remember playing Eichenwald. I was attacking. Second point. I came out of spawn, walked through the double doors. I threw a hinder over the castle, and it landed by the cart, and we were almost capping, and it stuck someone. I think it was a Moira. And fucking, it was hilarious. It killed her, and we fucking won the game because I think hinder is stupid. It's just an ability that should not even be a thing. I wish I could get that clip. It was funny, dude.
Someone must have that clip. Hopefully, someone in Jay's chat will come through. I was gonna say not to turn this into the Trigger Samito episode, but this kind of reminds me of the original Moira Orb discussions, which is like.
I thought I was just thinking that, dude.
For the
Oh,
OG,
God.
for the OG Overwatch fan, that was that your first like big and like I hate this thing brigade, Sam? Like your like Moira Orb delete because Moira predates Brig, right? So it might have been the first one.
Yeah, probably was. It's probably the one I like was seriously playing the game. Yeah. Because when you're a noob, it's like it's hard to give myself any credibility for the stuff that we used to rage at. Because like also back then, it's like Hog was hooking people through continents. Remember, like through the bus and like around. There was
That was fun.
Yeah, of course you liked it. Yeah,
Bro,
I
I'm just watching it was fun. Hooking a Sombra, then she translocates and you pull her across the whole map.
Listen, I remember your old Hog duels were Salt. Don't tell him Deku, but I'm pretty sure Jay peaked higher on Hog than Salt did. I'm pretty sure. I know
Really?
you like
Overwatch 1?
I did.
What was Salt's peak in Overwatch 1? In Hog?
Masters.
All right, bro.
Okay, we're getting a little bit personal here. Salt's too busy raging in someone else's game to reply to this accusation right now. Let's talk. Let's move over to Echo. So this is one that I will have to lay it up to Sam first because you know you've been so intrinsically linked to this hero since her release, Sam.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Echo?
She's probably been my favorite hero in Overwatch 2. I feel like she's the only character that like she really did maintain. I think she has the most options out of any DPS hero, and that's why I like her. I feel like her ceiling is still like as high as DPS's was previously. Big props to them for buffing the ult build rate in copy. It was like pretty useless for a long time. She definitely is. It's harder for her to get her big burst combo off with the health changes, but she's in a good spot. I wouldn't change her at all, to be honest. And she's fun to play. I think with Pharah rising up a lot, which I'm very excited to get to Pharah because I think it's time to like really get the cat out of the bag on that character. I think she's in a good spot. I will say it would be really nice if I would not get locked in place and not have iframes when I copy. I hate it so much. I'm a flyer character. Let me use my ult while flying. Okay? Like the fact that there's so many times where I'll pop my copy and I won't have a chance to do anything because I'm locked in place, but they can still shoot me. And it's like, okay, can we change that? Like, I already can't copy tanks in this game. Copying tanks is not doable because I'm pretty sure as well, if you shoot a tank and copy, that tank passive still means your ult build rate's even lower. And I hate that so much. I hate it so much. It really limits your options about who you can go for and who you can't. So I would like to see copy have have either iframes when I'm for iframes means like invincibility frames for I guess people in the comment section who don't know, or just don't have me be locked in place right when I copy a target, and that would be really nice. But otherwise, I would not touch the character at all. I think she's in a good spot, and I'd be very careful buffing her. I wouldn't do that anymore.
Dick, I'm gonna take it to you next. Echo.
I think Echo's pretty well balanced right now. I don't have any complaints. I mean, I'm a hit scan player, so Echo isn't almost ever an issue in my comp games. But the only thing that's annoying is her sticky bombs. That's about it. I think she's pretty good. She's not too hard to beat. She's not OP. She has her moments, so she's in a good spot right now. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Honest, apparently from Deku. Jay, how do you feel? Honest, dishonest?
I agree with Sam. I mean, I don't play the character, but I do think, I mean, seeing the frustration that Echo players had when I mean, even the players on my team that spoke frustration, when they used to copy people, they would never get ult. And I thought that ult, I mean, they used it as like a second life most of the time. But it's really nice that they can actually build their ult now and, you know, use it sometimes. You know, if you copy a tank, you're not really going to use it. But yeah, I trust Sam here because I don't play the character.
It's fun. She's really fun. You should try it. Just spend a week learning Echo. It'll blow your mind. I'm telling you.
Dude, ever since I had Mangachu on my team, never considered playing flying characters. I never played.
Listen, you guys talk about the game being stale. Try playing Echo. It'll change your world until you play Alari, and then you won't have fun. But other than that,
Okay. How about you, Spilo?
Good. I mean, I think Echo's like I always joke that she was like the first Overwatch 2 character with like the dynamics and the range and the mobility and the choices and like that's how Overwatch 2 characters should be. Like there should be choices. There should be have to rapidly adjust your playstyle depending on what map or what you're playing versus, and yet allow you to outplay if you're smart enough and mechanically good enough. Obviously, like the HP increase of Season 9 was a little bit tough, but in a way that's not unhealthy because it means that it's not just a sticky beam rinse and repeat simulator, right? You actually have to hit some primary fire. I agree with Sam. No changes outside of the iframes on ult or just being able to actually move quickly because the lockouts are really annoying.
Just don't lock us. I think
just don't lock. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, but yeah, no changes.
Cool. Okay. In that case, we can move on to perhaps one of the most memed characters in Overwatch, Genji.
Let me go.
Okay, Sam, are you gonna tell this? You gonna tell us the story about how Genji got you into Overwatch with the dragon shirt?
I'm not. I'm just gonna lay it on the line here. How is it that we increase every character's health pool and Blade is still at 110 damage a swing? What are we doing? Come on. His Dragon Blade limbs per 10 apparently are way down. I'm not sure if you guys saw Abby Overwatch's video talking about like Genji, the hero that lost his identity. I think, like, listen, I would be okay with Blade not being damage boostable at all if it means that he got his mid fight back. Like, Genji's mid fight is just so much fun. I just feel like they've just missed the mark on this hero for years for what he could be. And anytime he comes up, it's just for like 2 weeks and then he's just right back down. It's like, look, I'm not saying he needs to be super powered, but I don't get why Blade is still 110, especially with the health changes. I don't get why it just seems like he just continuously gets put on the farm. Like, because when Genji is good, the game is good. I get why Nano Blade would be too strong, but if that's a problem, that's an Ana problem. That's not really a Genji problem because Nano gives so much. The instant burst health now, damage negation on its own is super, super strong. I wish they would really take a hard. I think Genji's a hero that they should take a hard look at and ask themselves, like, what's fun about this character? What made him so enjoyable? Why is he a staple hero of Overwatch? And how can we cater that kit to be more about the mid fight, the rush of being like what Genji offers to a first person shooter? Nobody's ever come close to replicating. He's super fun, the most demanding. His cooldowns are both neutral in the game, honest, as Dante would say, right? Like, you get the honesty thumbs up. I really wish. It's crazy to me that Moira got tuned up more than Genji did in post the changes. That's just crazy to me. It's like that's the kind of hero you want. That's why people would log back onto Overwatch every day. So look at Dragon Blade. 110 is a sick joke. Okay, it's been funny for 4 years, guys. It's been funny for 4 years. Can we address this character now, please? Thank you. And that's all I got on that one.
Jay, you were nodding, but do you concur? Are you happy with how Genji?
I don't play Genji, but I do think it's with a lot of characters, it's kind of ridiculous that you give characters a health buff, but you also don't touch the how much damage some ults do. I think Genji was one of them. I mean, they made him swing faster, and that's about it.
And it didn't matter. It almost made it.
I mean,
Oh,
I think it
man.
matters. It's just maybe not quite enough.
I mean, I think
Yeah,
you
it's
get
just
extra
not
like
enough.
what swing or two in.
You can,
Two
but
swings
there's
is
so much mobility and so many abilities that can get used in that time. It just should have been a
Yeah.
damage increase and not a swing speed increase.
But you kind of don't feel like if Genji was buffed, Jay, you would be fine with it.
It would. What kind of buff are we talking here? What kind of
Sam-
what kind of
It's not
buff?
raw damage, but
Like
Go
his
ahead,
blade?
Sam, propose something and let's see how Jay responds.
you have two ways you can go. If you're gonna keep Blade weak, you need to buff its build rate so it comes up faster.
I can see a lot of nano blades coming in with that.
And that's the problem. Like I would go with Siegel's suggestion where he had a forever go where he was like, listen, Blade can't be damage boosted, buff his mid fight, and then maybe buff the Blade build rate a little bit, and that you can give him maybe
What do you
little
what do
bit
you
more
mean when you
damage on
say
the
buff his
shuriken.
mid fight? What do you mean?
Like
when you say
either
buff?
I wouldn't touch his cooldowns. I think dash and deflect are two great cooldowns. Spilo, I'll let you go to this because I feel like you had something you were gonna say.
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna say like food for thought. Like in this discussion, the reason why they're not gonna buff blade damage or dash damage is do the math. It's 160. Nano boost is 80. 240. That's what they want. They don't want slash damage nano blade.
Mhm.
So the first thing that we have to address is damage boost with blade. And if we can address damage boost with blade, then we can start talking about buffs to dash damage, which that's another thing that we're not talking about. It still does 50 damage, right? Not 55, not 60, but 50. And also the blade damage. I think it starts with that conversation. Damage boost and blade, because that's the worst thing about Genji. Everything else, fixed skill, nano blade is not skillless. Like there's a huge ceiling, but like you don't have to be good to get value out of nano blade.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like when you're at the floor of the game, and this is probably why they nerf it so much. It's when we're playing, people can hit their cooldowns. Most players can't though. So the Genji just gets to walk up to you free. That risk is so much lower because nobody can hit an ability. So I don't know. Look, it sucks that again, yet another support changing breakpoints that the DPS player has to bite the bullet for. What else is new, right? But no, I would like to try Siegel's suggestion of maybe Blade shouldn't be damage boostable, and because Nano Blade would still be good. Damage mitigation is super strong because you can still get that very aggressive play style. On that, maybe Blade can't be damage boostable, and his shurikens get a little bit more damage, and Blade goes up to 120, and then maybe slash at whatever the breakpoints would do to get it back to where it's like okay, maybe I shouldn't be a 3 slash on a Cassidy without even using his roll. I've seen clips of Moira's coalescing an Ana, and he's just sitting there like a wet pool noodle trying to kill him, and he just can't. And they play it perfect too, so it just kind of sucks. That's what I would do. I'm not sold on it, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to try it. Better than would be now for sure.
I like the no damage boosting of it because they did something with similar to fix the Hanzo. Remember?
Yeah,
the Hanzo
yeah.
with the grabs. I think that would be kind of cool to do. I would like to see that.
Well, because it's uncounterable. That's the thing. It was like Grab Dragon, you couldn't
Yeah.
counter it. Like you damage boost, it was just literally it's just auto win. It's too old,
Nano
but
was
it's crazy
crazier, too.
uncounterable. Yeah.
You couldn't.
Yeah.
Nano dragons were insane. They had to get rid of it. Remember wasn't Nano Diva bomb a thing, or you could mercy damage boost the baby Diva, and it would like make the bomb do like 1500 damage
I
or
think
something.
so.
I forget what it was. Something crazy.
It was interesting and ironic because that was back then, and now like there'd be 5 things that would counter a Grab Dragon. Like you could just pedal them out, you could Suzu them, you could lamp them, and you'd
One
be
quick
done.
thing, can I just spitball some thoughts? So
Mhm.
I will say this, like I think that we could talk about like blade damage, we could talk about dash damage, we could talk about damage boosting blade. I would even hot tech here, minor thing, maybe even shuriken speed just a little bit. Just a small buff. But like I will say the Genji's probably, maybe it's just because the popularity of the character is like the most cooked character that I see on like Twitter and Reddit, and I actually don't think he really needs all that much. People are like, let's give him 2 dashes or let's rework this.
He
Let's
does not need
no,
that.
no,
Two
it's
dashes.
fine. He's fine.
Crazy.
He's fine. Like just like make these like little tweaks with this and that, and then just leave him as is. Do not touch his cooldowns. Don't touch his damage. Just the damage of like blade dash or damage booster. Just like little things. He doesn't need that much. I think
He's
people
a
are freaking
perfect
out.
median for the game. I've said this forever.
Yes,
it's
I
like if
agree.
Genji is neutral into most of what's in the game, the game's in a great spot.
It's like
So
Winston. People are like, "Oh, we need a buff." No, stop,
No,
stop,
yeah.
shut up. Winston's fine, exactly as he is. He's perfect.
Okay,
you know?
I'm gonna take it to Deku here because I want to hear her thoughts on this as well. Deku, are you these guys are kind of largely in favor of Genji? They're like, yeah, I mean, Salt's having his fun too. I'm sure Salt has an opinion on Genji. But yeah, how do you feel? You guys, these guys are quite positive. Are you equally positive on Genji?
So I don't play any Genji at all. I don't mind if he's not in most of my games, but I do agree that he needs something because he's not the best character right now. Like, I wouldn't mind if he got like a damage, more damage during Blade, but without, you know, damage boost or nano taking into effect. That I probably wouldn't mind, but yeah, he's pretty easy to counter. He doesn't seem like he's strong right now at all. He's very mid, so I wouldn't mind a little small buff on Genji, and I think that's perfect.
Do you view him as like a fundamentally skillful character? I think this is one of the things that the Overwatch community kind of does. At least the people who talk about Genji, they kind of view him as like he's really fun, high skill ceiling, like the kind of thing that got people into Overwatch. Do you view him that way, or do you view him as like maybe he's kind of overrated? Like I don't know if he's all that skillful.
Okay, sorry, one sec. Salt's mom was asking me a bunch of questions. So, what did you just ask me?
Sure. So to rephrase the question, do you view Genji as a fundamentally skillful character? Like I think the Overwatch community often does. Do you?
I
view
think
him
he
as...
is skillful. Yeah,
Yeah?
because I can't even play him, so he definitely takes skill. Like you have timing, and you have to like, you know, manage your cooldowns correctly to play him. So I think he definitely has a high skill ceiling for sure. Him and Tracer, I think they're both skillful.
I see Jay nodding. Jay, you know, I got like a couple seasons ago, I got coaching from Jake on Genji, and one of the things he was saying, like, Jake is such a funny guy because he's like the hype killer sometimes. Like you want to build drama, and Jake will just say it how it is. And I start day one, I'm like, all right, Jake, you're gonna coach me on Genji, and he's like, sure, but listen, SAB, you should just play Tracer. Like 99% of the time, instead of just playing Genji, you should just play Tracer because she just does everything better. Like, do you view Genji that way? Do you just like maybe he's not all that? Like, just play Tracer.
I mean, I can't play Genji. I just play Tracer. That's where I put. I mean, it's not that I don't want to play Genji because I do think Genji's fun and I mess around with him in quick play. It's just it comes back down to when I first started learning the game. I never had to play Genji. I was always the Tracer player. I had like Zachary and Mangachu doing the Genji. I mean, I still got benched on that team. So
maybe you should have learned Genji.
Maybe
I will say one thing like on that point, SVB, about like the whole like why play Genji when you could play Tracer. I think the reason is because I think Genji struggles versus a lot of like the higher level DPS characters like the Sojourns and Tracers and Sombras and even Echoes. Because I always look at Genji as like he's really good versus the immobile characters, right? Because he can stage for free, he's got the assassin, but he's actually not the best duelist versus other duelist characters. Is the weird irony, and I think that's where like the shuriken accuracy can be kind of a thing where like a lot of those characters can kind of play the short mid range and kind of keep their distance from Genji, and Genji can't. He can't hit shurikens on them, like he can't. So yeah, I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, it's a really good point.
No,
It's a
you're
really
good.
point. Yeah, I
was done on mine. Yeah, I just played Tracer. I think Tracer and Genji, I feel like are both very high mechanical skill characters.
Okay, I like it. Okay, well, we'll move on to Hanzo now. I'm actually not gonna let Sam go first here because I want to hear some of the other thoughts first, and I want to hear from Deku first because Deku, this is a hero you play quite a bit, or at least I've known you
I
to.
don't play him too much. I play him sometimes, like if someone picks Widow on a sniper map, I'll play Hanzo, or King's Row is a pretty good Hanzo map in my opinion. So is Lijiang Tower, because I don't play Junkrat or Sim. But yeah, after his one shot went away, he's so mid right now. Like there's no satisfaction in getting kills because you're just charging up arrows and hitting body shots, or maybe you do hit a headshot, but they don't die and they get healed and they come back and they kill you. So I think he definitely needs some kind of buff, or maybe just give him the one shot back. I wouldn't even mind that. Maybe just take a little longer for him to charge up his arrow. That could be something looked into, but yeah, for now he's pretty weak. I don't see him get picked a lot unless there's like a one trick on your team that only plays Hanzo.
Jay, I want to pose this question to you because I feel like a lot of the times with the Overwatch community, this isn't really a singular person thing. This is like just how the community tends to work, and maybe just gaming communities tend to work. We're always like remove a thing, remove a thing, remove a thing. Then they remove a thing, and we're like, maybe the thing wasn't so bad. And I feel like one shots are this now, where it's like, for the longest time, people many times will be like, we remove one shots frustrating, one shot suck. And then Hanzo comes along, they remove his one shot, and now people are like, maybe one shot's good. Maybe we want it back. So how do you stand on this?
I feel like it's a thing. Like you don't know, you don't know what you have until you lose it or something. But I feel like Hanzo is kind of useless right now. He doesn't have his one shot. I think he is a sniper. He should have it. Maybe do something with like Widow. With like, I know it's a projectile, and a lot of projectiles don't have it. But like, make it like there's like a range. As soon as it hits a certain range, maybe the one shot potential falls off. So you can't start like fling random arrows. I used to play a lot of Hanzo. I think Hanzo used to be my second most played character, but ever since the change, yeah, I have not touched him. I think I tried him, and then I was like, "Wow, this is ass," and then I switched back. Yeah, I think they need to change it.
What would you
I don't
want?
see it. Like I probably like something like I mentioned, something like like something like Widow. I don't know if it can be like something like Widow. Like after a certain meter, make it so it's not maybe one shot, so you have to keep your distance maybe. But I do feel like most of Hanzo's kit came from his one shot. Maybe Sam can give you more advice because I actually don't know what you would do to help Hanzo. On that note, I gotta go to the bathroom, so I'll let Sam take it over.
Sam, it's on
Spilo, I
you.
promise I'll toss you a lob. Okay, I'll toss you a lob, Spilo. Okay,
All right.
listen.
Value.
I have from day one, from the Hanzo rework, from it, like I'm one of the. It was me, Raxu, Arge, right? We were the old Hanzo players. I have been a Storm Arrow hater from day one. I have always hated Storm Arrow. I thought it was brainless spam, and that's the direction we unfortunately went with Hanzo. Couple things. Give him his one shot back. You can make the Storm Arrow count 2 for all I care. It's not like shooting the Storm Arrow in the tanks helps anybody anyway. The tank player hates it. It's the only thing Hanzo can really do, and the best thing the DPS do nowadays to win fights is to take the duels against other DPS. Letting me be a threat to the other DPS is more important, and I think it would help the tank players too to not have Hanzo mindlessly lob Storm Arrows into the other team. It's a brain dead ability. It should not be a thing. It took all the precision and thought out of Hanzo. Give him his one shot back and nerf Storm Arrow. If you really think like Hanzo's a problem, then you can nerf Storm Arrow, and I think a lot of people will be pretty happy with that. Number 2, revert this Dragon Strike change immediately. I hate it so much. I don't think it's better. If you're going to increase health pools, increase Dragon's damage and let it destroy deployables, and I think it's fine, right? Or make the Dragon Strike longer because I have no chance of getting a tank with it anymore. None. I already had a low chance, and it was so good at splitting people in, I guess, the original game. It's not really as good now because, reasons. But I think that lets Hanzo keep his unique identity. I know people hate on one-shots. Hanzo's is the least consistent in the entire game, though granted he can run in the brawl comps more. But I guess I think Storm Arrow has been a bigger issue for a long time. I think that's where people have the big issues with him. Where like, he's just brainless spam. It's like, yeah, well, when you pull out Storm Arrow, it really is brainless spam. So I think Raxu said the same thing way back in the day. Like, just remove the Storm Arrows or reduce the Storm Arrows, give him his one shot back. And that's what I would do personally. I think Dragon Strike is just an outdated ultimate too. Like, let it destroy. There is no reason my Dragon Strike should not break an Immortality Field or an Alari Pylon. Like, I've said this last time. I would Dragon Strike a Pylon to break an Alari off an angle. And then it's just Spilo. I'll toss it to you for the brainless tank busting stuff.
Yeah,
I hate Storm Arrow.
Yeah, I think it really just comes down to what direction do you want to go. Do you want to make Hanzo this more Overwatch 2 dynamic character, or do you want to give him very clear defined strengths and weaknesses? Because right now he doesn't really have either. He's pretty bad still up close, versus all these more hybrid characters. He doesn't really good at long ranges. I think you could either go the direction of giving him his one shot back, removing Storm Arrow, making him more of a high risk, high reward kind of a sniper character, or you could lean into, we've talked about the Sam where we leave the damage lower, but increase the induction speed, allow him to induct while climbing, give him more utility arrows, just something more of a utilitarian, medium range utilitarian. I think you just have to decide what direction you want to go, right? What direction you want to go with the character.
How do you respond to, because I think a lot of people who dislike Hanzo would be like, well, yes, it's the brainless spam of the Storm Arrow, but also it's just that I think it's the same thing that Junkrat suffers from, is that the public perception is you're walking in a room, and I think the thing I often would think of something like a Coliseum, right? It's like this long narrow choke area, and there's just this stuff constantly flinging your way, and one of them hits you and kills you, and that's kind of where Hanzo arrows were, right? And it's it is for a lot of metal rank players, you're just walking along, whoop, something just came flying. You just look at the kill cam, he's just chucking it at a corner, Is there something that can be done for that isn't removing the one shot?
No, like you either leave the one shot or like we said, just make it like leave the damage as is, but just make it faster to induct. You know, I don't think there is an answer to that.
So is that just something that players like you gotta accept that will be a
Well,
thing?
that's where I'm being devil's advocate with. Like, I know we're in a DPS player call here. We've got a lot of Hanzo advocates in here, but like that's kind of like you have to choose your poison here. Either we give Hanzo his one shot identity back, or we take the character's identity in a different direction. And right now, all we've done is taken away the one shot without moving him in a different direction. So that's why people I think are upset.
Did you understand that criticism, Jay, when you were playing Hanzo? Would you be like, did people say like, "Oh man, it's so fucking brainless. You just headshotted me out of nowhere"?
Yeah, there's some times where I shoot randomly at a corner and then someone turns the corner and just dies. I've had that several times. But I really want to know what Sam said when I had to go to the bathroom. What was your
I basically
take?
just said like a lot of the OG Hanzo players always hated Storm Arrow, and like the people
Oh,
that
okay.
complained about like Storm Arrow is like, listen, just reduce the Storm Arrow count so it's less like just raw output, just crushing somebody and making like you can keep him slow and let him have his one shot because like his fire rate and his output generally was lower, and because his like again, it's a little tougher with the projectile size changes and stuff like that. But I'm okay with leaving him like forcing it to be more of a niche skill shot. I loved playing Hanzo when he was like that. I think many people did too. I think that's what makes him unique. And to be honest, I feel like that's what most of the projectile role is. I think a lot of those characters generally are specialists, and that might be what they should be. The flex DPS role generally is more of a niche role aside from a couple characters, and I think that's okay. I think trying to make Hanzo a generalist, like he'll never be better than Cass. He'll never, well, in some brawl comps he will be, but go ahead, Spilo.
I was saying that I think I look at like most projectile characters as being a little bit more utility based, right? Like in terms of what they provide. Even things like Junkrat, Pharah, Mei, Sombra. I wouldn't call Sombra exactly his projectile, like, but they have certain more. They rely more on their kit, right, and less on their just raw damage output. And I think Hanzo has really not had. I mean, Sonic is pretty useful, right? But Lunge is, kind of what if it's fine, like it's free value, but it's not great. Storm is just basically more damage, right? I think like that's kind of like where I will say one thing though. I think we need to be really careful about like what we lean into with Hanzo. I don't mind if we were to like allow him to have the one shot back, but there's like a certain trade-off. But I saw one suggestion I really didn't like, which was allow him to keep his one shot, but the induction's a little bit longer. I don't like that. I think that like snipers are already a problematic character. Like it's really like feast or famine, right? I think that's the one nice thing about Hanzo is that like, okay, Storm Arrow sucks, but at least there's like some form of like consistent pressure. But I don't think we want like a projectile Widowmaker. I would not want to go that direction with the character.
Okay. I think it's a good range of thoughts on Hanzo. I want to keep some of the speed because we got still a decent chunk of the DPS roster to go through. So to move on to Junkrat. I'm gonna take it to Jay first this time. Jay, how do you feel about the Jay silly?
Keep him where he is. He doesn't need his one shot, bro, or his little two shot. His shot with the mind, bro. Keep it where it is, man. I think Junkrat is fine. If you removed Hanzo's one shot, remove Junkrat's 1-2 shot ability as well. I hate Junkrat players.
I was gonna say, so you're kind of on the fence as like a Junkrat hater. Like you're declaring like I just fucking hate this hero.
I hate that character, bro.
What
I mean,
is it?
if we're talking about spam, Hanzo spams a choke, gets a kill. Oh man, that's annoying. Junkrat does the same thing.
And where do you draw the line? Like I liked playing Hanzo, but I find Junkrat to be obnoxious.
I just feel like his I mean when he was able to like not aim and just mine you, that's what tilts me, bro. A character that doesn't even need skill. Like if someone mines you and you're flying in the air and they do like old TF2 Demoman and like flick and shoot you, that's kind of cool. You deserve that. But not when you're like turning a corner, you can't land a pipe or whatever it's called. What is that, little mine or a little ball shot?
Mine.
What is it called?
The concussion mine or the frag grenade?
The frag grenade. There you go. When you can't hit that, but then you give up and then you do little 2 concussion mines. I hate that, man.
Okay, so you felt like Junkrat was just more brainless and less skillful. So you didn't like going up and dying against a Junkrat.
I hate Junkrats. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and you're fine.
Unless
with
it's
it,
Temple of Anubis.
then you're okay. You're like, this is fine.
Yeah. Those were the days, man.
Okay, we're turning into nostalgia watch here a little bit, so I'm gonna take it to Deku.
Sorry.
But no, it's totally valid. It's like if that's how you feel, then express it. Deku, how do you feel? Are you kind of on Jay's side? Where you're like, yeah, fuck that guy.
I'm gonna double down and say fuck Junkrat. I do not like that character, and I don't know. They buffed like the size of his like projectile, right? Like a decent amount, because I feel like I see it coming. It doesn't look like it's anywhere near me, and I blow up anyway. But yeah, as long as Junkrat is not strong, I'm happy. If I don't see Junkrat in my games ever, good.
And again,
Junkrat.
I would pose the same question to you. Like, what is it that really frustrates you about Junkrat that maybe doesn't about some of the other heroes?
It's just the random like burst damage that just comes out of nowhere, like, and you can't really avoid it as well as you would like. Oh well, if there's a widow peeking a corner, you okay, don't peek that corner, roll, use your cast roll, whatever. But I feel like on certain maps you just can't avoid the spam, because he'll just spam it down a hallway, spam it down main, whatever, and it's just like an annoying character that it's just like, why why is this in the game? There's no double shield anymore. We don't need you anymore. That's my opinion on it. I don't like Junkrat.
Interesting. I'm curious, Spilo, where you land on the honest, dishonest Junkrat.
I mean, he's pretty dishonest. I got a whole rework thing. Hold tight. All right. Faster moving, less damage primary fire, so the directs are still rewarding. Reduced damage on bounce. So once that hits the floor or hits anything, you're immediately getting reduced damage. I know that might reduce some trick shots, like bounce shots, but honestly, like that's the vast minority of situations. As soon as it hits a surface, the damage of the projectile is significantly reduced. But then you're increasing the projectile's speed so that you're actually able to hit things that are a little bit further. Like, you just have to go this direction of this character in 5v5. Even before 5v5, like, it's not a healthy character otherwise. And the problem is that you see some of these crazy Junkrat players, and there's only so much that they can do with the character. And I think that that's a limitation of the character design. I think probably you'd have to look at reworking trap. I think that's always Overwatch 1, Overwatch 2 always been just a crappy ability. I don't think that's particularly fun for anybody involved. Maybe I thought we could do something fun with the peg leg, like a small explosive, or like a coach gun you could do with your peg leg, or like a little flamethrower. I don't know. And I think the other thing as well is the conk jumps are super broken with him as well, because they force like verticality. You can't like really angle the concussive mine and then launch yourself horizontally very well. It always has a layer of verticality. So like it kind of limits your mobility options with the mine, because it always shoots you up, which is not generally where you want to go. It's like really naked, right? So you would like, I think, more control over where you want to move yourself with your self mines, I think would be good. But yeah.
Yeah, I
That's
believe
what
it
I think.
always goes 45 degrees up if I'm not mistaken. Like, it always sends you 45 degrees up as long as it catches you. I remember again getting a little bit of Junkrat coaching from Jake. Like, we did another week of it, and Sam, to Deku's accusation, just like this random burst damage. I kind of felt like the lesson I learned was basically that was it. That was all of Junkrat. Like, if you couldn't hide around a corner and burst someone, you're useless, because like you cannot outduel anyone at any range that isn't immediately close range. Like, any mid-range hero will outduel you no matter how good you are, just because the 2-tap takes so long. And so, how do you solve the problem of Junkrat?
So I'll say I think in Overwatch 1 it was more bearable, but like his style in Overwatch 2 was just guerrilla warfare. And that's just not fun. I will say they have to do something with him. If they, like I agree, mobility with mines is probably the answer. And changing around how his primary works. Like, cause even right now, it's still like I will miss. Like, it was. Listen, you were a rat, right? That is a rat character, and sometimes you want to be the rat, you know. But I get why people would not like it. It was frustrating to play against a lot of the time, but they do need to do something with his conk mines, kind of increasing the frequency, making them be more utility based for movement around the map. I'm nervous about mobility creep. That's just where we are. Tire's really strong. People don't talk about this. Rip Tire, granted, there's more
600
immortality.
damage. Yeah.
It's really strong. So like that win con is pretty powerful. I think Spilo's got the right idea for what kind of needs to happen with him. I'm nervous he's just going to be another version of Pharah, but again, what are you going to do? That's kind of like what you have to do in this format, I think. But I think it's definitely better to play against than the guerrilla warfare Junkrat, because at least with Venture, there's that opportunity, right? With the Venture combos, like, okay, there's the hinder, like I can move around, like you kind of know. Like with Junkrat though, there wasn't it was almost like you're walking through a haunted house or something, and you know that there's it's like where is it, right? Where is it? And that's just not. I don't think that's Overwatch, but I do think they need to do something with him. We'll see. I think Spilo kind of had the right idea. People don't talk
I
about
like
how good
Spilo
Tire
shade.
is. Yeah, it could be fun. Like it could be fun. Like, and honestly, you could give him like 3 mines and I mean zip zapping around. Like it could be cool, but we'll see.
Yeah, again, I think as you guys said, it's like it's one of those play styles that maybe is fun sometimes for the player, but it's like not fun to be on the receiving ends of. Like, you know, it was one of those maniacal characters where if you did get to like, I'm hiding around a corner, boom, boom, and just like delete someone, you kind of like run away
It was
laughing.
really easy mechanically to do.
Yeah.
It. And you would giggle. Like it was like
Yeah,
know,
you're just gonna be
know
like,
they're mad.
I got that guy, got that guy.
Yeah,
Fuck
I
that
do.
guy.
You know they're mad. You know they're mad. Like that's why.
Exactly,
It's just,
yeah,
It was
yeah.
corny. It was very corny.
But
very
then
corny.
then when you're on the receiving end, you're like, fuck this shit. I don't even. How long was that guy sat behind that corner?
There were sound issues too. I think for a while where like he wasn't making noise. Like when he would be up in the air, and
Yeah,
you
in
couldn't
the
even hear
air,
him
yeah,
coming.
yeah.
Like at least with Pharah's jump jets, you can hear them, or like Echo Glide, you can sometimes hear that a little bit more. So it's just
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about a couple heroes now on the bounce. So the projectile heroes happen to be 3 on the bounce here. We got Junkrat, we got Mei, and then after that we got Pharah. So there might be some similar things that we're going to discuss here, but let's talk about Mei first. Deku, I'm going to take it to you. Mei, I think probably gets seen a lot less than we've seen her previously, but how do you feel about her right now?
I think she's really weak right now. I don't see her ever being played. Even my friend that's a Mei one trick, I don't know if you guys know George, he has not been playing Mei this season at all. Like, it's just a bad character. The most you could do is maybe, I guess if you're playing against Reinhardt, maybe it'll be a good pick, but other than that, you just don't pick her for any reason. She's just bad all around. And I guess it's because of those changes where she can't, like, one-shot Tracer anymore. She can't do much. She has to take so many body shots, and she has to charge up her shots as well. So she just gets left behind, I think.
And do you want to see? Do you see like a place for Mei in like your meta, like how you see Overwatch being played?
I mean, I wish every character could be played evenly, right? I remember that one patch. Which one was it? Anyways, yeah, I mean, I don't mind, if there is Mei in my game, as long as it wasn't as busted as it was a couple seasons ago, but yeah, it's bad that some characters just get left in the dust. So, she is a buff for sure. Something. I don't know what, but something.
Jay, how about you? Where's Mayfall? She's in your Junkrat camp, or is she in your like, you know what, maybe she needs something?
I do think Mei needs something. I don't see a lot of Meis being played. You know, fuck it. Bring back her freeze, bro. If she holds down left click, bring back her freeze, dude.
Is this gonna be your stance on mostly just go back to Overwatch 1, man? Just go back to fucking Overwatch 1.
No, I think didn't they have her freeze in Overwatch 2? No,
No.
The
never.
reason why it sucks right now, they didn't compensate its damage at all, so it does nothing.
I thought they did something with Mei and then they had to revert it because it was
slow.
like
They increased the slow to 40%, and then they put it back down to 30.
okay. Yeah, I just don't think Mei's good right now. Maybe it's the health and she can't one shot, the Tracer, but I mean that's just one character she's going against. I do feel like mobility creep is a thing, like Sam was saying. A lot of these new characters are all getting these mobility, abilities. And so, you throw down a Mei ult, no one's going to be caught a Mei ult, especially with Lucio being strong right now. You throw Mei ult down, Lucio just speeds everyone out of it. I don't see a lot of Mei being played anymore at all, even in my games.
And you'd be okay if like Mei was more viable as a pick.
Yeah, like Deku said, I think every character should be viable.
Except
like I'm telling you, bro, that one season in Overwatch 1, man.
I hate you guys.
Yeah, these guys are just like pop in vials of blood in front of Shark Samito's nose constantly, just like, yeah, hey, have a whiff, have a whiff. Are you really sure you like fish?
I feel like Donkey from Shrek right now.
Spilo, before we go to
you want
Sam,
first?
before we
Yeah,
go to
go Spilo.
Sam. Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, I think like Mei's not great right now. I'm looking at her overbuff stats. It's like not that great. She's always kind of been of a niche character. I think that maybe a hot take here. Actually, I don't think it's really that hot of a take. I think she's much healthier in Overwatch 2. The tank team utility with 2 tanks, like the Walver Watch, like just basically walling on choke and holding freeze was like way too effective, and it kind of lowered the value of like what the character can do in the right circumstances. I think that in general, like coaching and working with Backbone, and the Overwatch League, like playing Mei versus Dive and playing Mei with the new heals and the new this, it just felt so much more fun. Like there's so much more dynamics with what you can do. I think the problem right now is like there are the break points are like really messy, right? Like that's the biggest issue with Mei right now. You're not as much of a threat as you ought to be. And I think the only thing that I really would change with Mei, besides maybe some of the break points or their damage, is I think that I would not give her a freeze bag. I don't think you would want to buff Wall in any way, shape, or form. I think Wall's fine as is. I would look at Blizzard. I think Blizzard is not a good ultimate in the Overwatch 2 environment. I don't think Blizzard was a good ultimate in Overwatch 1 environment. One of my complaints about Marvel Rivals is that there was so many ultimates were just AoE blasts. AoE this, AoE blast, AoE blast. No, there weren't as many playmaker ultimates, and I think Maze Blizzard's has aged really poorly in Mobility Watch with one fewer tank. And even when it was good in Overwatch 1, it was so boring to play versus. Like, I hated Blizzard, maybe more than any other CC ultimate. And I think that, like, if you were to change anything about Mei, it's breakpoints and ultimate. I don't know what you would do. You could roll out a lot of different playmaking ideas. Like, I don't know, but like I don't like Blizzard.
Yeah, there's a lot of directions they could go, right? Like you could turn it into like because is it in the snowball Mei? Doesn't her ult just give her like a faster fire rate? Like let's just pop snowballs like crazy. Like maybe like the version like a Sojourn rail, right? Like when she pops her ultimate, it's like railing a lot. Or the meme suggestion of like a giant snowball that you just like pow into people with. Maybe take your teammates with you. Fucking roll into all them brawls.
What if you could like freeze the floor?
Yeah, Frozone.
Freeze the floor and you can move faster. Like there's all sorts of like little details that get thrown in the character. But I played Mei a lot. I think season 4 or 5. I wanted to see how she would feel like after coaching Backbone, like in the ranked environment. I just was like solo angle, duel people, poke people out, use my ice block selfishly, wall for high ground, wall, just walling for me, like forcing cooldowns and baiting stuff and just playing like a distraction. It was really fun. Like it was really, really fun. I think she's underrated in terms of how much fun it is. Like I said, I really just think it's the breakpoints that become an issue. Like if you're playing Mei to like wall off tank, you're gonna have a bad time, but it's because you're kind of stupid. You don't do that here. Right. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much that you can do with that. So and that's good because that's the worst type of Mei, right? Nobody likes playing versus that Mei.
Jay, do you have something you want to add before we go to Sam? I think you were gonna say something.
No, you're good. I was just laughing.
Cool. Sam, go ahead. Give us a little roundup of Mei.
So Mei was my secret niche pick. My highest peak in this game is on Mei. I hit like rank 11 on Mei. And like it was the season 3. I remember I was talking in the group up chat, I think, SVB, and I was like, yo, guys, this hero's broken. I keyed into Flats, and I was like, yo, Flats, this hero's busted. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, look at my win rate. My win rate was like 85%. She was very good at dueling. 3 shots in the body, 1 head shot, and 1 body shot was a kill, 1 shot on Tracer. But why she feels really bad right now is the freeze just does no damage, dude. None. And like I was trying to play her today, and like 100 DPS a second freeze. I think that's what it was, if I'm not mistaken. Is it about like 100 DPS? It was really, really good. But now, like cast rolls, I do no damage. Most of these heroes have way more health, and it's just actually horrible right now. So obviously, I think Blizzard is an outdated ultimate, but like her mid fight was so much fun, like as the duelist style. Like I would wall myself up to high ground to take angles, and with your ice block you could take selfish duels. Her projectile speed was faster than Hanzo's. It still is faster than Hanzo's, and she has no drop off. So I told all my Hanzo players, I was like, guys, like stop playing Hanzo, start playing Mei. She's really, really fun. You have a ton of unique interactions and duels. Like, you know, she was very good at a lot of things. You actually really didn't have to play to bust the tank. And I think that was the big problem in Overwatch 1 is like it was so easy at the floor to just ruin someone's experience. Like completely. And so that's why she had a bad rap. Like I would tell Blizzard, and like as an avid, like I really want to pick Mei. I love playing Mei in this game. I think she's way less oppressive. If you guys can make just tune her breakpoints, whether it be her ammo count, like everything, just do exactly what she was in season 8 to her now. And I think she's in a perfect niche, but she's definitely underpowered in both her range shot and her freeze now. They both need damage compensation. And I think that's fine unless you want to, you know, I don't rework everything yet. I'm very hesitant on a lot of these reworks. I think there's only been one. The DPS reworks have actually been great, I'll say. The Sombra rework does not get talked about for how, I will kind of consider Sombra a projectile character now because she's all about hitting the virus. She is all about the virus. If you can't hit viruses, you shouldn't be playing Sombra. But I'd like to see Mei get that compensation. She just needs that, and I think she's fine.
I agree with Sam. I wouldn't mind if they gave her the Symmetra treatment where like the primary fire was like a little bit harder to land, but did more damage if you did land it, right? Like if you shrunk the hitbox just like a tiny bit, but like if you could track, like it was actually, because right now it feels like, why am I ever freezing? Like I should just be secondary firing like 99% of the time.
Or the more fun suggestion, which is the Frozone suggestion. I like Frozone Mei. I'll just turn the primary fire down, speed yourself along. Let's do it that way. Okay, let's move on then to Pharah. Now, I think all of you guys have kind of alluded to. Sam's already said multiple times, like, I'm waiting for the Pharah, I'm waiting for the Pharah. But a lot of you guys already
Somebody else go.
earmarked.
I've gone first a lot.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you
I was
go
gonna
first.
say a lot of you guys have
I'm gonna go to the
earmarked
bathroom real quick.
Pharah as like something that you've been noticing a lot more people play. I think Deku, you were the first one to bring it up that outside the hit scans, it's a lot of Pharah. So what's going on with Pharah?
I don't know, but she seems pretty strong. I've even started playing her myself. Like, she's just has a like no fall off, so I could just spam like from really far away where the hit scans have fall off, so they can't really kill you. So I could just spam, and her mobility is really good. Where you can, if you're able to go over them, and they can't see you, they can barely hear you, and you're just above them, and you can free shot them. So she's pretty good right now, like really good. So I think she maybe needs a little bit of tuning, in my opinion, but
You think she's overtuned?
a little bit in the current meta at least. Like, I feel like unless your tank wants to like actively try to help you with the Pharah, you're gonna have a hard time as a DPS killing her by yourself. Like unless your tank goes diva or something, it's really hard on certain maps, especially where Pharah has a lot of cover in the sky, like buildings and such. It's really hard to kill her, and she can get away with a lot. So maybe it's map dependent, but she's really good right now.
And that's you as a hit scan player talking as well. So you don't feel like you maybe are as effective as you once were at shutting her down.
Yeah, especially with Cassidy and his fall off. But yeah, if even I could play Pharah, she's got to be strong, right?
Jay, how do you feel about Pharah?
As a hit scan player, I think Pharah is really strong. I see her in a lot of my games. I thought, seeing the OWCS, I thought Pharah was a sleeper pick, and there's a lot more people playing it now in comp. And it's very annoying when those people also have, their Mercy players pocketing them, so it's little impossible.
The healers, right?
The healers, yeah. Also, I don't think Boop should do damage. Yeah, I don't think Boop should do damage. I think it's really dumb, dude.
I
Tyler used to disagree, but let's let
You
Jay go. But it's
disagree.
interesting. So Jay, go on, finish your thought.
No, I'm basically done. I think Pharah's really strong, and I don't think Boop should do damage.
Well, what is it about that you find frustrating? You like it's just too much of a wombo combo, like the damage comes in too fast?
Yeah, they're like the burst damage that she has is just a little crazy. On top of the movement ability that she has now, and all this crazy new stuff.
And so you just feel like now she's just too much, like does too much too fast.
Yeah, I feel like she does a little too much. I mean, I feel like buffing a character like slowly would be like the most ideal if it's too weak, but they just gave her so much, and I mean, I don't know if it's the hit scan talking or what, but I don't like the boop damage.
Okay, well, Spilo, rebut.
I'm for the boop specifically. I like the damage because it actually means there's like a choice about what you do with it now. Like it actually kind of rewards you if you get the combo right. The problem is just damage boost. Like we can't have Sojourn conversation without damage boost. We can't have an Ashe conversation without damage boost. We can't have a Pharah conversation without damage boost. Heck, we couldn't even have a Hanzo conversation because I had people freaking coming back from the season 9 changes telling me how broken Hanzo was because Arge was running around and the private servers with the Mercy Pocket. Turns out that Hanzo's not broken, but Hanzo with the Mercy Pocket's still broken. So I think that like as long as image boost is part of this discussion, it just craps in the water. It's literally impossible to have this conversation. But Pharah as she is, like, I think that there's a lot more flexibility with how you can play. You're not as reliant on a Mercy Pocket. You can make more plays. It's a lot more fun. You don't just two-tap people with Rocket anymore. You have to choose if you're going to go aggressive with your conch or if you're going to use it defensively. Same thing goes with your lunge. Same thing goes with your jump jet. I think they could probably even tune the flight the fuel to be even lower, frankly. I think she could be even worse at flying. And what they could do is they could do that and then remove her self-damage entirely. So you're almost not entirely reliant, but more reliant on rocket jumps to actually maintain verticality. I don't know. I think that I think this is like Pharah and Barrage is, kind of a mess. But Pharah rework is like a good example of I think a step in the right direction, but just not a job entirely done. That's kind of the way I look at it.
I just want to say that you're taking a few steps back here. So what you're saying is that they should delete Mercy from the game because of damage boost.
I think Mercy. I mean, I've had this conversation with Cassidy. Mercy's just a horrific hero design. Horrific. Outside of her movement, the only movement's the
It
only
wasn't me
redeeming
this
factor.
time.
I'll see you on Twitter, bud. It's all right.
Listen,
It
no,
wasn't
no,
me
no,
this
you-
time.
listen. You guys don't. You guys got it. You guys don't even get it. The Mercy mains, all the ones are. They agree with me. They're pretty reasonable. They like to move. That's all. That's what they like to do. They like to move. The game doesn't encourage them to move. So I know this isn't a Mercy
They like to
topic,
fly
but
around with their pretty skins.
right.
Direct
You
quote.
don't damage boost and resurrect and like the pocket playstyle. That Mercy.
That's
Most
what I was
Mercy mains I
told.
talk with
They say
don't. They
this
don't
to
like
me.
that. They don't like that. They don't like that. They don't like that. I think we kind of gaslight ourselves by a couple of like really crappy Mercy mains, but like for the most part, Mercy mains they don't like that either. They just like.
I'm gonna
move.
say a quote. Before you two make this face, I'm not letting y'all do that. Listen, I'm gonna say a quote. Okay, the direct quote. I don't care if the world is ending as long as I look cute in my Mercy skin. Direct quote from her. I bet you'll agree. I'm telling you, that's facts. Spilo,
I don't speak claim to speak for anyone else. I'm
Hey,
staying out of
listen.
this. I'm staying out of this.
Listen,
Jay,
Spilo,
I wanna wait.
I
I
Go
love
wanna
ahead,
Mercy players. I just want to say that.
before I move on to
dude.
your opinions on Pharah, I want to let Jay. Anything you want to get off your chest about Mercy? Because that sounded like some baggage that you had.
I love Mercy, man. No, I just think Mercy's such a great character, and I love Mercy's on my
Guys,
team. I love it when they
establishment.
pocket me.
Did
I
you hear
love
these-
damage boost.
The revolver right behind his head. You
I
know,
know.
like.
Listen, I already got banned by the sim community, but it's the sim community. I don't want to fuck with the Mercy community, bro. Listen.
Jay, try the Moira's next. It was a good run. Okay, so I wanna preface and then I wanna challenge Spilo a little bit. So one, let me preface by what's so good about this new Pharah. Old Pharah was all about hitting the 2-tap, right? And your conk, like you had no option when you were in the air. So you kind of had to play back in the air and predict the movement. Where if you shot the first one, you hit the direct, but there was no way to force them into your second rocket without sacrificing your movement, right? The one-shot combo on Pharah now is shot conk really quick, and you want to put your conk mine in a spot behind them where you can force their movement into your second rocket. So the odds of you hitting your combo are you have way more opportunity to do that, right?
It's like
Not
the
to
junk mine
mention-
combo. Like
Yes,
launching
it
in the
is.
air
It is
and
with an
then
extra
bam.
step. And now what makes it so good is when you were challenging the hit scan before, you couldn't use that conk to knock them into your second rocket without dying. But now it's an essential part of your combo. You're disrupting their shot on you, which is the thing that we don't talk about a lot. I think maybe you could nerf the knockback a little bit
True.
on it. I'm not sure if you want to do
prob-
that.
You probably could, yeah.
You get
think-
2 for 1. You're forcing them into your second shot and you're disrupting all of them at once, which enables you to hit your combo way more. So that's why she's so good. I've actually found her better without the Mercy pocket. And that's what I'm going to
I
challenge you guys on
agree.
a little bit. Like, I don't think you need the damage from the conk if you're gaining the disruption and the 4 shot in the second shot. Maybe the conk doesn't do the damage. I'm not entirely sure on that yet, but I know why it's so good, and that's kind of what I wanted to challenge your thought on a little bit, Spilo.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that because that's why she's so good in my opinion after playing her a ton. Her damage output insane, and not to mention, guys, she bypasses the armor buff that tanks got. She can rip through tanks better than any of the other
is true.
projectile DPS in the game. You notice it a ton when you're shooting at Ball, shooting at Diva, Mauga, any of the armored tanks. You notice like you knock their armor off way faster than any other character in the game. So that was actually the armor change is really a buff to her too, and you can really feel that's why post season 9, like it felt really good playing the Pharah because like it was like okay, wait, I'm ripping through the armor. I'm ripping through. I get more health. I have this combo set up now, right? So that's why she's so good. I think in ranked in particular, she is the strongest projectile character in the game because she's the easiest to get that value on because now that dash is so good in the air. You can't make mistakes anymore. You can't make the mistakes. So like I've noticed when I'm in a bad position, ego peeking these hit scan and I go for that free combo, I get to disrupt them and I have a get out of jail free card. So I do think the damage boost conversation is important, though I would say the one for Pharah and Spilo, you know exactly where I'm going with this. Nano Pharah is better than Nano Blade. I think Nano Pharah is the most overpowered Nano target in the entire game. She is insanely strong with Nano, and including the barrage. So I think I'd be okay for more Pharah changes to come through. I'm not sold on where they should be yet. I think she is too good, and I think they could make a healthy change for everybody that gives Pharah a more unique identity that she can excel with, like the no rocket damage, kind of the rocket jumping around. But she is by far the best projectile hero in the game. I feel like my word on projectile characters, I feel like I've been on the money with them for a long time. I called May. I said Echo was really good at launch when everyone was playing Sojourn Reaper. I think Pharah's the best one right now. I think this is the best time to pick up Pharah if you want to learn Pharah. And she's insanely strong in rank. Go duo with an Ana player and just run these lobbies. I'm so sorry, tank players, for what we're about to do to you. But honestly, you guys are already down the drain. I think they've given up. They're already masochists over there, so it's fine. No big deal. But Pharah's insanely good. Best projectile hero in the game in ranked, in my opinion.
I think you do a lot of tweaks number-wise with the character, like a lot of tweak. Like I said, the cookie's half cooked. You know what I'm saying? It's not quite there, right? I will say you have to be a little bit careful with like nerfing too many combos, because like if you take away the combo, then you remove her ability to actually secure kills quickly. Which then how is she going to function as a flanker? Well, then now we now have a character that kind of still leans into the spam archetype.
But you can combo Tracer too. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. But I think that's kind of what, at least as long as it's skillful and there's some sort of risk involved, then I think it's okay. Because again, otherwise, like then all we have is like Pharah that can only combo with Mercy Pocket. Like she can't actually secure kills. She just spams a choke. And I think that's
she's better without Mercy too. Honestly, I don't want the.
I think she's technically better. She just feels worse. And I think you always have to incorporate how it feels playing versus the character. But yeah, no, I agree.
Okay.
I'm not gonna die in any hills there. So.
Okay, I want to give Jay a quick chance to rebuttal on the Mercy better, like Pharah actually better without the damage boost. Like you kind of had a problem with the damage boost, but you actually think maybe she is better without it. You're muted.
I think her mobility makes her a lot better. Yeah. I do think. I still think adding a Mercy to it makes it.
No, it is. Yeah, I don't think I articulated my point well. I think holistically as a team comp, like I actually prefer playing without the Mercy because my team doesn't have to. Like I think the best style of Pharah after playing her a lot is kind of ratting on your own and being able to play off your teammates' angles and creating those combos. Because I don't need the Mercy Pocket to combo anymore because I can set it up myself. Right, and that's kind of where I like to play. And when my team's playing like a Lucio Kiri comp or like an Ana Kiri comp, they can set up angles that create more opportunity for me, and I'm just the type of player that likes to read them. Pharah obviously individually is much more powerful with the Mercy, but that's just a particular playstyle of mine. That's the Echo playstyle, if you will, because you can play naked Pharah now, which is really, really good. That's what Razor called it.
Naked Pharah.
Yeah, it's just Pharah.
That sounds like a custom game, to be honest. That sounds like some custom game.
Dude, the Overwatch custom game. We're not going down that rabbit hole. It's never gonna end. But yeah, I think.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna start. Yeah, I'm just gonna moving on now because we again I want to be conscious that we still got a good chunk of DPS heroes to go through. So let's move on to Reaper. Deku, I think you said you don't really play Reaper, but how do you view the state of Reaper? And also bear in mind that we've got a Reaper, not rework, but some sort of jig coming for Reaper that the devs have kind of earmarked. So how do you feel about him? Yeah, they said that they are gonna change him in some significant way. I can't remember exactly what, but
bring back souls.
We could just figure out what Jay's gonna say at any point. It's just like whatever it was originally in Overwatch 1, just bring it back.
We haven't gotten a Torb yet. Armor's coming. Go ahead, Deku.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro, I wish.
Scrap.
I think Reaper is kind of mid right now. I don't see him in a lot of games, other than if they go monkey. So I'm not sure if he should be stronger, because if he is stronger, then he's just going to be a really good tank buster probably, and it's just going to make it miserable for tanks to play against him. But yeah, I think he's mid right now. I think maybe he needs something to keep up, but what about you guys?
I'll come back to you in a second, maybe once we hear Jay's POV. Jay, what do you think?
I think with Pharah being really, strong right now, I don't think you can even pick Reaper. And knowing Overwatch's mindset, if you buff Reaper and make Reaper strong, then they're gonna buff tanks to make them, not die from Reaper as quick, and then you're just gonna keep getting buffs and buffs and buffs. But I don't see a lot of Reapers being played. I think it also brings into consideration that Cassidy, hinder, haha, lol, smile, can't really fade out of anything. So I think Reaper is kind of like mid right now.
And so I'll put this question to both Deku and Jay. It's like, what is the thing that maybe you kind of alluded to? Maybe his tank busting is the frustrating part of it, but what's the part that maybe isn't so frustrating that could be buffed to make him a bit more viable? I'll go to you first, Jay.
Maybe his weapon spread. Probably do something with his weapon spread, or maybe like something with mobility. Maybe someone was in my chat saying the devs are also planning that Oh no, not that one.
No,
No,
fuck
there was
that
another
guy.
one. No, yeah, no. Shadow Step is getting reworked. That's what's been confirmed so far. So that would be kind of interesting to see
Hmm.
what they do.
Okay. And Deku, how about you? What would you change if you were given the reins on Reaper?
I don't know. I don't play any Reaper at all, so I have no knowledge on his playstyle other than like getting into your face and then wraithing away.
Mhm.
Other than that, so Shadow Step is his TP, right? Is
Yeah.
that the one that's
Yeah.
getting changed? Maybe that'll be something that can help Reaper in this current meta, but yeah, I'm not a Reaper expert, so I don't know.
Okay, interesting. Spilo. Obviously, I'm sure you've probably done a
Yeah.
rework on Reaper already. So
Yeah.
where are we going?
I mean, it's just basically faster TP. I think we had an idea of like possibly giving Wraith form some sort of verticality. I think the problem with Reapers is just making sure that whatever you do, that it doesn't enable him to just bust tanks more. And I think that the spread thing that Jay was mentioning is in like the TP speed stuff like Deku was mentioning is like probably the way to go. Problem with Reaper is just like I think he just lacks like a lot of kit dynamics. So just whatever you do is just like opening up more options, opening more speed. Allowing him to do more things. My only hesitation would be like you have to be careful with Reaper because he does. If you gave him like too much verticality or too much speed, like Wraith form is like a ridiculously good defensive cooldown. Like it's actually maybe the best defensive cooldown in the game. I'm being a little facetious there, but like it's like old Sombra Translator almost, right? Like it's like if you time it right, like there is no counterplay, right? So we would just have to be careful with like how that's done because they're obviously aware of that. Like even with Venture, they don't want to give that kind of cooldown anymore. So yeah, just more options, tighter spread, faster TP, little things like that.
Sam, do you concur?
Yeah, he just kind of struggles to close the distance, and when he does, he doesn't excel. So I think that's pretty much all he needs.
Comes down to mobility, man. All these new things are having mobility.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one fewer hero. You know, the maps open up so much, right? And so like you have characters that just basically shoot tanks. There's one fewer of those, and the maps are more open. It's like it's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And the heroes that could only tank bust can't tank bust because the tanks have so much health.
Yes.
Like you just have to change them around.
Although you'll still see plenty of people picking Reaper and chasing a monkey around, but I don't think it's as effective as they think it is.
It's not.
It's miserable though, that's for sure. Okay, let's move on to Sojourn then, because this is a hero I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts on. Jay, I see Jay vociferously nodding, so I'm going to take it to Jay first. It seems like this is a very strong hero right now, Jay. How do you feel?
I think she is very strong. I think with the buff that was very unnecessary, keeping 25 energy, it makes her even stronger now. You know, she's very good against Maga that's being picked right now. She's very good against Roadhog that's being picked right now. Just farm your rails, look at a squishy and rail them for like I think it's 195 damage. So you basically almost one-shot them. I think she's very strong right now.
And are you okay with that? Like because one thing I've seen a lot of people say is that Sojourn's kind of been like near perma meta since her inception or what she were like at the pro level is like constant Sojourn, and like is that okay? Because some people would say, well, like Tracer, she's a really skillful hero, and I'm okay with that. But are you okay with that?
I think they could probably like revert some changes. Maybe take away that 25, keep that 25 energy for the next team fight. Take that away, and they could probably do something like with Soldier nerf the. I wouldn't say her rail. I feel like her rail is like the skill shot that she needs, but maybe nerf the primary fire damage. Like they do the Soldier every like other season. You know, to a Soldier. Probably something like that.
So you're kind of like you kind of like her, but maybe a little less powerful.
Little less powerful. I do think she is very, very, very. She's picked a lot. She's picked a lot.
And do you feel the pressure to play her a lot as well? Like you kind of have to pick her.
Yeah, I feel like there's either if I see a Roadhog, it's like when you see a Roadhog on the other team, I feel like you're pressured to play Ana because you want to hit them with that nade. That's the same thing with like Roadhog. He's just there. He's big. He's a big target. You can't miss him. Build a rail off of him and then shoot someone that's in the backline that's really squishy, and then you basically just rinse and repeat. And I think that's what we were talking about earlier. Like that's getting stale because same thing, rinse and repeat. Go into a game. You're just basically put on like autopilot. Farm the hog, farm the Maga, rail someone else, and just keep doing the same thing.
Deku, is that how you feel as well? Have you felt like pressured to play Sojourn at all?
Yeah, if they go Roadhog or if they go Mauga, or on the off chance right now they go Orisa, she's like, all right, I'm just gonna go spawn, swap the Sojourn. I feel like Sojourn's never been a bad pick ever since Overwatch 2, right? She's never been bad. So maybe they could just like nerf the rail a little bit and focus more on her primary fire.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe something small, but she's definitely always been like a top pick every season. So she's really strong right now as well.
And again, it's like I'd ask you the same question: is that are you okay with that? Like fundamentally, if we say that like Sojourn will almost always be like a good pick potentially, is that something that upsets you, or are you okay with it?
I'm kind of okay with it because it's not a big deal. You can always go Sojourn yourself to deal with it, but I guess it could be annoying to other players. Or if you're not a hit scan player, it could be annoying as well.
Yeah, so the hit scan players maybe are fine with it, but we'll see how Spilo and Sam feel. Spilo, I'll go to you first. Sojourn, I'm sure you've just, you're always seeing her at the pro level, but is that okay?
Yeah. Probably my second or third most coached character in the last 2 years, because like every Diamond Plus player, Overwatch League, like constant, she just has like a really, really high value ceiling. Like when you're good at Sojourn, it's like Tracer, you're going to be able to do a lot with the character. And there's like one of the problems I think we haven't touched on yet is that like there's so many characters in the DPS cast that just don't really reward being that good at them. Like you could have the best Junkrat player in the world, and it's just like, what is this guy, Kea, who's like middling low contenders, and the guy's insane at Junkrat, but there's just almost much you can do with it. Sojourn is like one of those characters, like if you're good, like the ceiling is limitless. You're as good as you are, right? With not just the rail, like I think even the slide, the disruptor shot, there's like a lot of things that you can do with the kit. So that's both a good and a bad thing. And I do think it's unfair to say, oh, Sojourn's perma meta, should nerf the crap out of the character. I mean, maybe, but that's the problem, is that like she's not very good until you're really good, and then she's really, really good, right? And I think we need more characters at that level. One criticism I have, and this is something I had literally since Alpha, when they released Sojourn, the first feedback I had with the character was like, hey, I love this character, but we need to shift more value into the primary fire and away from rail. I 100% agree with Deku. Because this character should be the vertical Soldier 76. It should be the verticality Soldier 76 with the burst of rail like Helix. We should tank the crap out of rail down to where it's like basically just a burst damage, but it's not anywhere close to a one shot. Like I'm talking like 150 with a headshot, right? And what you would do is you would need to reduce the delay from railing into shooting again, because the problem is the delay. You rail and you can't primary fire. So what you do is you almost completely remove that delay, so you could just shoot rail, right? Then you can we can tweak this projectile speed, we can tweak how much damage, and it becomes like a much more like dynamic, like Halo railgun getting in there. It's not like farm the enemy tank, find a squishy, farm the enemy tank. That gameplay loop is really boring. And I just think that they need to lean more into primary fire, and I've been saying this for literally 2.5 years. Almost 2.5 years.
Sam, you so much humming and finger gunning that I feel like you don't have much more to add than a big yes.
What did I say in season 2 SCB on the show? You remember when they changed? You remember the one change they did that I said was horrible, and I was really frustrated because she was underperforming at low ranks, which is why they gave her the 25 rail. They increased the spread, which hurts who?
Oh, dude, I remember that. I was so mad. That was so bad. That was so bad.
So she can't like mid-range check squishies, which means the only option is to shoot the Roadhog. The way they tried to change her in season 2 was horrible. I stand by Spilo. You're completely right. Tighten the spread. It's going to help more new players get into her because they're not hitting the railguns, guys. They're not. What they're doing is they're getting the primary fire. Tighten the spread. Reduce the ceiling on the rail. Good players will still get value with her. It'll help her a lot in the mid ranks, and it'll help rein in her ceiling too, and give her a ton more playstyle options. That is not, oh, I'm going to farm the hog and shoot my rail, right? I think the way they changed her was really, because the first time they did it, it was like people were just, that it was season 2, and like, I just stopped playing because it was all Widow, Sojourn, Hog, Orisa, and I was like, dude, I can't play this. Like, I'm going to go play Binding of Isaac or something, or Warzone or something else. So yeah, I would love to see them tighten that spread, revert the season 2 or 3 changes, reduce the cap on rail, and you can tweak numbers from there. That'll give her a ton more options. It'll help out new players get into her because she is fun. I mean, that's the kind of character that she's the kind of fun character that you want to introduce that has like a ton of like a really high ceiling, but she needs to be more accessible. and I think she needs a lower ceiling and be more accessible. And I think they just went the wrong direction with the character, like in season 2.
Primary fire just feels so frustrating to use
I know.
sometimes. It feels like Ramatra's primary fire and Omnic. You're just like, what am I doing?
They
trying
did
to
fix that too, though. That's what they kind of need to do to Rail and her. What are they called? The bullets she shoots? Do we?
I have no idea.
I
don't
just
even know
call
what
her
they're-
primary fire.
Yeah,
Bullets.
question for you guys too. Did you guys flip flop? And for a tip for anybody getting to May as well, I felt way more comfortable on May when I flipped her icicles and her freeze, like the primary fire and secondary fire. So like I shoot with left click and I freeze with right click, and my aim got 10 times better. It happened with Sojourn too. Do you guys? How are you all
flipped it.
keybind? You flipped it.
My rails left click and my primary fire is actually on my right click.
Right click, yeah,
Ready
same.
for some
Same.
spicy? Most Overwatch League players have it as neutral that I've worked with. Almost
Really?
all of them are all rail mouse too.
Interesting.
Really? Ugh.
May is the one hero where I actually keep it on the right click and I find it better on the right click. Like
Really?
Yeah, for May I like
I play
the
with right click.
It's all.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
like-
sure.
I challenge you guys to try it the other way around. You gotta adjust to the walls, but oh my god, it felt great.
Interesting. Okay, well we're on the home stretch now, guys. We're in the last bars. We're in the last bar, so we're gonna talk now about Soldier 76. So again, I think this is like very tied into how we talk about, like, the hits can always kind of tie into each other, right? Because they're always competing with each other and they're always kind of dueling each other. So I think I'm gonna go to Jay first, because Jay, you actually mentioned Soldier. You're like, well, they kind of always change Soldier, always tweak him around like this. Do you think right now he's in a good position, or do you think maybe he needs some changes?
I think Soldier's in a good position. I feel like he's one of those characters that are always just consistent until they actually do change him and buff his damage, and then you're just like, why? And then they're just nerfing it in the future. I think Soldier's fine. He's very consistent. You know, when your healers are not healing, you play Soldier so you can run around and like drop your own heal pad. But
Jay says healing. He like does the nerd voice. Healing. You know, it's like immediately.
Why is Spilo just
Actually.
Listen, you need to show up to coach our fucking Overwatch team, bro. Listen, let's not go down that path.
Okay, well,
No, but I think he's consistent.
you think he's consistent?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean,
I don't think he needs any changes. I do miss, and I will admit, I do miss hiding behind a corner when you know a tracer's coming and helix meleeing.
Yeah,
I miss it,
yes.
man. I miss it. But hey, you know what? It is what it is, bro.
Jay, it sounds like you don't like these season 9 health changes. You said you did it first, and then you've talked about like 4 breakpoints that you're like, damn, I missed this. Or bring them
I
back.
miss it. You know, 6v6. No, I'm joking.
To
No,
be fair,
sorry.
I feel like we must contextualize. This is the man who wants 2 CP back. So I think you could just.
Hey,
Hey,
listen.
2 CP is good, and they removed the player, so now you have one less player on the field. Would have been.
But
good.
you want
I was
66 back
neutral
too,
on
so you're like
66.
bring back 66 and bring back 2 CP. Well, we'll
Listen,
fucking.
he's just here to like make us chaos. Jay
Yeah,
just wants
literally.
chaos today. I
Well,
like
Jay's
it.
is like
I
whatever
like it.
whatever was happening 3 years ago. Let's just go back, and then 3 years from now he'll be like, "Yo, bring back the fucking season 9 health changes."
Overwatch 1? Like 66 now?
Exactly. Just bring back.
No.
Overwatch.
Oh, you're such a troll, bro. You're such a troll.
Deku, how about you? Do you feel like Soldier's in a good place?
Yeah, he's alright. He's playable on most maps. I don't find any issues with him, and he seems like a pretty fair character to play against as well. Maybe just for the shits and giggles, maybe we could just take away the recoil that they added, just for fun.
Or reduce
I don't know.
it. Yeah, that could be cool.
Yeah, or reduce it, just take it away, make it like how it was back then.
With Bloom.
What,
you
like
mean?
instead of going up, it's the bloom?
Yeah.
Really? I don't know how I
Maybe
feel about the bloom.
just for it to be different. Just to
I feel
throw
like
some
the-
spice in there.
Ooh. So go back to like Overwatch 1. No, my bad.
Yeah,
Nah.
yeah. Or
The
that one
J3
patch,
solution. J3 solution.
No, I actually prefer the soldiers like aim now. I feel like it's more rewarding if you have good aim.
Where do you see
enough,
his niche, Deku? Like, where do you see Soldier 76 fitting in?
He's a really good flanker. I feel like his playstyle is better when you're flanking with him, other than when you're just frontlining. At least in Overwatch 2.
You like that Soldier's just like 10 miles deep in the back line, just like never dies, runs away, and
Yeah.
just harasses in the back line.
Yeah, that's what's fun about him. I think that he's able to do that.
Interesting. Okay, Spilo, is that how you would view Soldier 76?
Yeah, Yeah, I would say so. I think that like I'm looking at Overbuff right now. He's the second most picked DPS in all ranks, and he's also
Wow.
the second most picked DPS in Grandmaster. I think he's like benefited a lot from like I know we complain a lot about like oh we've lost the Ashe break points and Hanzo doesn't have one shot and May Icicle and like you can't. But actually, Soldier's benefited a lot from these changes because if you think about like what Soldier historically struggled with, it's Hanzo. Right, mid long range, completely ruined him. Right, he worried about Pharah 2-tap. He worried about Sojourn, just ruined him. Even Ashe, right, with a big problem, right, because you just basically get 1 or 2 tapped almost instantly. So now, like, he can kind of compete more in the mid to long range because if you get shot, you're not dead. Like, you can heal station and re-peek, and then you got another opportunity. I think my one complaint with Soldier is I think this heal station is like such an awful archaic cooldown that didn't work in Overwatch 1 and really doesn't work in Overwatch 2. What is the cooldown now? Is it like 15 or
18,
18?
I think.
I mean, it's like absurd. I
Yeah,
think
they
need to
nerfed
do.
it.
Yeah, it's weird. I think they need to give him like a stim pack or something like that. You know that you can
The
use on the
stims.
move.
Oh my god, he stims himself.
Seriously,
is Call
Fucking
of
because,
Duty.
like,
StarCraft Marine
yeah,
over
like
here.
you could actually reduce the healing per second by a lot too. Like if you allow him to use it on the move, I think that
Yeah.
would be like way more viable. Like give him a lot more
That could
flexibility.
be
But
cool.
I think he's honestly fine.
That could be cool.
How do you heal your team though? You give your team like the stem?
You don't need to heal your team, bro. That's what you have
Oh, yes,
healers
you
for,
do.
Jay, right?
Oh,
Right?
well, I get. You know what's funny that you say that? I get most of my ult charge from healing my teammates because my
do.
supports
Because you don't hit your
are not healing.
shots.
Whoa! I do
well,
hit my
listen,
shots, sir. I'm
listen.
gold damage.
listen. I'm just saying the big gag back in the spot. I know you know this joke because it was our East Coast gag. Is that we would say aimbot and FPS is OP in like prime goats
Yeah.
meta, and then we would pop a soldier biofield down and get visor like instantly. It was so much fun doing that. It
Yeah.
is good. It actually
Yeah.
is good.
You
It
can
actually is.
nade and then healing station as well. That's all,
Drop
like,
it to
so
grab when you're grabbed. It's budget
Yeah,
trank.
yeah.
I'm telling you, budget trank. It was
Yeah.
good.
The soldier healing station on a nade. That's it. You're just you.
It
you
was
gotta
good.
trank.
It was
You gotta
actually good.
trank.
It was budget trank.
How do you
Three
feel about
visors, too.
Soldier right now, though, Sam?
I think he's right where he needs to be. I think he's a great entry character of the game. He was my first hero I played when I played Overwatch. Volsky Industries, I'll never forget it. I was sitting, Jay, you might be right about 2CP. I was never a 2CP hater. Volsky was like my best map on Hanzo. And Anubis, like, come on, Doomfist, Junkrat, that's my hero pool. But I remember like being on the top mid platform on Volsky at first defense, popping visor, like 5K'ing because nobody like hid in the noob lobbies from visor. I was like, this character's OP because it's aimbot and FPS. And that's actually, I just started grinding Overwatch after that. But I think he's right where he needs to be.
One compliment, I really like the ult change they did too. Like that's to me, it's like the
hitting
perfect free
headshots.
value. If you hit the headshots,
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I
no, it
love
should
that.
do that.
Like, I love that.
It should do that. Yeah, good. I think he's in a great spot.
Nice. Okay, awesome. Well, we can swiftly move on then, I think, to Sombra, which is, again, I think a hero. I know Sam and Spilo, you guys have both talked about her a fair amount. So I'm going to take it again to Deku first. Deku, how do you feel about Sombra?
I feel like she's alright. She's not too powerful or too weak. You can easily, counter her if you just play smart. But yeah, I mean, I don't play her at all either. She's kind of good at countering Doomfist and Ball, so if I have a Sombra on my team and while I'm playing against Doomfist and Ball, I'm all for it. But yeah, as a hit scan player, you don't really have like too much trouble with Sombra, I would say. That's probably like more like if you play Genji, if you play like niche heroes like that you have issues with Sombra. But I think she's all overall good. Not too OP, not too weak. She's good right now.
Which is sad because I just got a raid from Fitzy, and so I asked him, "Yo, how do you feel about Sombra?" And he says, "Haven't played enough recently." So unfortunately, we won't get a verdict from Fitzy here. But what about Spilo? Your verdict? Where's your you've been a big fan of the Sombra rework, haven't you?
Yes and no. I think it's a lot like the Pharah thing, where it's like it's going to be like a 3 or 4 step process if we're being honest. If she's ever going to get the decision or the attention that she needs, I think the big problem with Sombra is that like you have a utility character that people love to use that word, but then I ask them, like, what utility does Sombra have, and they state things that everybody hates, like hack and permastealth, and you're like, all right, well then we need to figure out like what kind of utility does Sombra want to have. I think the first thing you need to find out is like, what does this character's identity need to be? And then probably the first thing that needs to go is permastealth. Because then once you deal with permastealth, you add reintroduce risk into the equation and counterplay into the equation for the defenders. And then you can allow her to be a more effective assassin, a more effective short to mid range character. Because the problem is like you could tweak virus and damage and hack till the cows come home. But when she's allowed to cheat the rules of the game and stage for free with no limits, then it's like, how do you balance that, right? Like either she's way too effective of a spawn camp or a way too effective assassin, or she's way too weak because she can literally go for any target that she wants. And so I think just perma-stealth, start with perma-stealth, start maybe with how effectively she can consistently hack. I do think like a lot of the EMP changes, I would prefer to have more of her kit shifted away from EMP and more into her neutral. But it's a big topic, and I think just to keep things short, I think start with perma-stealth.
Jay, how do you feel about that?
Well, how I feel about Sombra is I think the health changes actually made Sombra a lot more viable. As of right now, I don't see a lot of Sombras. I do think they kind of like botched her when they changed her EMP. It does like what 30% now instead of 40 or even 50%. I feel like they can do some of what like Spilo said. I don't think I don't see a lot of them. Even the counter ball, like Deku was saying, I don't even go Sombra, I go Cass at this point.
And I think that's probably where QuakeDawn's hatred came for Cassidy, because like in many ways he's like the more effective counter because he counters but also does other things, whereas the Sombra pick into the ball Doomfist is kind of like, I only do that, like that's the only thing I do, whereas the Cassidy is the more viable pick all around.
Yeah.
Sam?
I think Sombra is my main hero from season 8 on. I think she's my main right now. I have the most hours on new Sombra. There's no Sombra players. Like that's what I was saying. Like I'm like the only person that I've seen that like consistently plays her. I love playing her. She's actually one of my favorite heroes to play. She is the assassin. I think she's criminally underrated because no one sat down and learned her. And
I agree.
like she's good. She's really good, but if you have to have a mastery of spacing in order to do it. Right? Like you need to understand perfectly, okay, my transload needs to go up. Like vertical translocators are just so good to get in and out of stealth and like be able to drop in and out. Hack virus, insanely strong. I think I hit like rank 20 on Sombra, like one tricking her basically. Like I think
You and Yeetle were popping off.
Yeah, we were the only people playing her because no one sat down and this is where Spilo, I kind of want to add on. I think she kind of is more of a projectile character now because she's if you can't hit your viruses, you should not be playing her. You don't do enough damage. The kill combo, what really makes her viable and what doesn't is, again, you can't kill the tank. Hacking tank, not good unless it's a diva that you can quickly blow up. The question is, what supports are they on and what DPS are they on? And if there's a matchup that your hack virus combo is good versus, you can play her. If they go Bapalari or Bap Brig or Kiri Brat Bap or something like that, it's much harder to play her, but they play Lucio. If they play Ana and you have a single target or a single matchup that you can stage for free with, Spilo, and permanently farm, she's very, very good. If that matchup is not there, she's unpickable. And that's kind of what I learned from playing her. But I'd have to pull up my Sombra stats. She's definitely like my main character that I've been playing. And she is very, very good. EMP post 2.5 second lockout time is significantly better. But yeah, I would say that she is very, very slept on right now. And I do agree that perma-stealth probably should go away. But if perma-stealth goes away, then they can afford to put more power into her kit. But I will say this, be very, very careful. She is very slept on right now. She is much better than people think she is, especially when she gets the opportune matchup. It's just when she doesn't get the opportune matchup, she's just unpickable. And that's where she does tend to fall off. But I think she's very, very fun. And I love the rework. I love the skill shot. And Hack Virus is better. I don't care what anybody tells you, especially with higher health pools. You got to get that extra damage that Hack does onto in terms of burst. And it is worth doing that. So also,
I like
into the feet.
Yeah, I like the translocator thing. Like it does feel like the risk is just, I cannot emphasize like how much, maybe it's just me, but risk just makes the game so much more fun to play.
Oh yeah.
So,
I
I mean,
Translocator is kind of still buggy, but it just feels good.
yeah, we talked about the screen lock. We were also blessed to have Ruben now.
They need to disable that.
Yeah. No, we did mention. I was gonna say we've got Ruben in chat as well. So Ruben Sargasm says, I think Sombra is all right now, but a lot of people think she sucks. So I think that probably echoes your sentiments, Sam. That I think it's a bit underrated. So
and a reminder to everybody at home. The reason why Sombra sucks for most of you, go into your hero settings. I don't know why they did this, but you must have disable translocator camera lock set to on because it turns off the force screen lock when you throw your translocator so you can look around the map and already be going the direction you're looking. I cannot stress how important that is. Also for Echo, hold for flight must be on so that you can get more of the flight boost tech. So just remember that one at home if you guys even want to try to play the character.
nice. Okay, Awesome. Let's move on to Symmetra then. And then again,
Oh,
another
gotta
hero
let
that-
Jay go.
Another thing that I think a lot of you guys mentioned already, but Jay3, apparently, do you have some thought? You've become some of a villain in the Symmetra community recently. Do you want to cement your villain status, or do you want to start the redemption arc?
Oh no, no redemption. F sim players, bro. I said it. I'm gonna be honest with you. Keep that character dead. That character should not be alive. I would prefer Junkrat players to be all over the game. Symmetra is only useful to TP your team at a spawn. I do think Sim is actually really good when you have a very vocal team, though, and your teammates are actually in the group chat, and you're like, doing TP plays with your team going around the map. But other than that, nah, Sim could be dead to me, and I'll be happy.
What is it about Symmetra that frustrates you so?
The players that play Symmetra, they hate me. I'll see that one on Reddit. Can't wait. Nah,
Okay.
I just hate everything about that character. She doesn't seem like a very fun character to play.
And presumably you don't enjoy going up against Symmetras.
It's not Symmetras that I don't feel like going. That are a problem to go against. I just feel like there's other better characters that you could play. Basically.
Oh, you actually dislike them on your team.
I just prefer. Any team. There's no Symmetra. If there's a Symmetra on my team, really, I will say some Symmetra players that I like are the very vocal ones. That all the teams in the voice chat and we're doing TPs, like I said, around the map. Like, hey, we're gonna go over here. We're gonna flank the other team. That's actually really fun. But most of the time, you're playing ranked. The Symmetra players are like a lot of your teammates are just not talking. Put a TP down. No one knows. TP dies, and everyone's just not on the same page.
Okay, so just a general hatred for Symmetra. I got it. Okay. Deku, how about you? You got that general hatred for Symmetra?
Yeah, I'm gonna lump Symmetra in with Junkrat. Maybe it's due to the fact that anytime I play against a sim, it's always on control center or a tight map where it's really annoying to play against Symmetra. And it's the only time I see her, so it's just branded in my head. Oh, I have to play against Symmetra on this map. But yeah, as long as Sim is only used to be TP'd out of spawn, then I'm okay with it too. They could just, kill
That's
that
what I like to
character in the
hear.
lore.
Is there a version of Symmetra that's kind of got you happier? Because they've tried a few different iterations. They've tried a few different versions of Symmetra, and none of them are really stuck. Is there a way that she plays that you prefer?
Not really. I don't play her myself, and anytime I've played against a sim, they usually always lose unless it's in Lijiang Tower map or whatever. I don't think she's super strong or anything. If anything, she's just more annoying to deal with. Why did they buff the TP health anyway? I'm just sitting there shooting the damn TP. I don't know. I just feel like the character's boring to play against, boring to have on your team too.
Jay, anything else you want to add on this before we move on to Spilo and Sam?
You said I think the one time I actually liked Symmetra, and this is kind of weird, but when she had the shield generator
I
and
knew
whatnot.
you were gonna say that.
Bro,
Oh
So,
my
why are you just such a
God.
fucking meme? You're a stereotype of yourself.
No, the sim, dude, I thought it was fun, bro. I
Jay,
like
you
it,
say
bro.
that.
Should I bring back her old Sigma shield that she used to have? You guys remember that? She used to have a shield that
Yes.
she could put go out.
That would solve your problem with the hero's ability to close the distance. But no, but no,
I think that was the shortest version of Symmetra. I don't think that version
Yeah.
lasted very long. I think they changed that pretty
Yeah.
quickly. The original version was the auto lock on Symmetra beam with
Auto lock
the
6
shield,
turrets, yeah.
the shield that you could
Mangachu,
give to your
connoisseur of that.
teammates.
Shout out Mangachu.
Okay.
I
did
think
what?
she might have been the most hated character in Overwatch at that point in time.
That should stay like that. Be consistent.
Jay's like, yeah, bring it back. Bring that back.
bring that
He's like
Symmetra
real
back.
to hate.
It kind of is. I think Sim's just kind of corny, man. I wouldn't change anything about her. I think there's bigger fish to fry. I think she should be niche. She always should be niche.
So, Spilo, you concur with that?
Oh, I'm gonna cook just a little bit. I'll be fast, I promise.
Okay, yeah,
so
go ahead.
Here's my
Ooh.
problem with Sim. All right, so Sims, I think Sim should get her 2-shot back, but I think you should shrink the orb size significantly. I think it should be like I actually think that the whole identity of like being able to like take your angles and flanks and like use your double shot right click. Like I actually think that this is like I think Sim's a lot healthier than she used to be, and I think they should lean into that more. They just need to make the orbs harder to hit. I think the other problem as well is her beam like is a really, really ugly identity problem right now because I've got the wiki pulled up. I actually didn't know it was this bad. Do you guys know what the tier 1 beam does damage per second right now? I bet you guys won't never guess. I guess you guys
60?
won't. It's 60. It's 60. So if I look at like SVB is right.
Get a lottery ticket too after this.
Guys, where's the? It does the same damage as Moira, and yet actually requires aim. The problem with that is that can you guys guess what tier 3 beam does? 180 damage per second. And that's a major problem because what ends up happening is if you get the capability to focus tank or focus the shield, the beam becomes like absurd. But getting to that point is the hard part. She doesn't have the HP. She doesn't have the time to do it. I think here's what I would say. Give her a 2-shot bat. Reduce the teleporter HP. I agree with Deku. It's ridiculous how much HP that thing has so that she can make solo plays. I actually would also say that I don't think she needs 3 turrets. I think 2 is fine. I think for the scouting and the combos, whatever you need, you don't need 3. And then finally, I think that you need to buff the primary fire on her beam to be like 70, something like that. And it needs to, 180 may be a little too high, and it needs to scale faster. So that the problem with the primary fire is it's unusable in a squishy 1v1. Almost unusable in a squishy 1v1. Because by the time, it should be an effective weapon in close range if you can track that accurately, but it's not. Because by the time that you actually get to tier 2 or tier 3, you're already dead or the fight's over.
Yeah.
If you go to 2 turrets, I think you're gonna have to buff the damage though, and then as well.
I don't think so. Because
Really?
these are all buffed. Because these are all buffs if you think about it, right? Like even if you
Well,
nerf
let's let
projectile
Jay
speed-
finish his thought. Why do you feel
Yeah,
like
go
I
that?
was
ahead.
just gonna say, I do think I think it would be beneficial to her if you do maybe bring that 2-shot back, maybe,
Sure.
and also reduce the size because the size right now is huge, even especially with the projectile and hit scan changes.
Yeah. I think her being like a semi like strategic solo / team oriented flanker where like you can do the secondary fire at like mid to long ranges, but you have to aim really well. And in the primary fire, if you can track really well, you're actually rewarded for it. I think that's the problem. I think the character is honestly fine behind that. Maybe you could even remove like the healing on doing damage to shields, like the shield generation. Like you could tweak that more. The only thing that I don't have an answer for is the ultimate. I think the ultimate's like pretty rough. Like it's really, really strong. It's not a very, very frustrating ultimate. Doesn't feel that great.
Doesn't look very great though. That's always the one that gets banded
No.
out when people want to say, "Look at how bad Overwatch is visually." Okay, I mean,
But
some
I
good
think long story short, I think there's options with Sim. I don't think she's as bad. Like there is like playmaking potential available there. Like, but yeah.
Okay, well let's go on then, because again, just in the interest of time, 3 heroes left, guys. We're moving on to Torbjorn. How do we feel about Papa Lindholm? I'll go to Sam first. Sam, Torbjorn.
He was the biggest sleeper in the DPS role until Pharah got reworked, and she's really good. I think Pharah hard checks him, but don't change him. Like his shotgun, he has been better Reaper. He really is better Reaper because he was, again, like he had the range options, the turret to set up, as well as the shotgun up close. I think he's really, really good. I would not touch him at all. I think his rework was one of the better ones they ever did. I think Pharah is just checking him right now. Pharah just hard checks him. So I think when Pharah stonks go down, Torbjorn is right back up in like A tier, I'd say, but he's probably B tier right now.
Okay, Jay's nodding. Jay, you concur?
I like that. I think Torb is good right now, dude. There was a game mode. I don't know what they did. I think it was the most recent one. Dude, it would be a cool idea to see Torbjorn's turret stick on walls and ceilings and stuff. I think that was a cool change.
That was
That could
April
be
Fool's,
pretty
wasn't it?
flexible. And they did reduce the health on it too.
Yeah, maybe like even change the health. If they do that, maybe nerf the damage a little bit, but like, or I don't know. We'll see.
Bronze players would hate that.
I mean, they have a hard time hitting the turret when it's stood
I
still.
know,
So
I know.
when it's attached to a teammate, like it was an
Yeah.
April Fool's, that shit goes crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. I think Frida, if he was here, would have spreading some hate on Torbjorn. But Deku, how do you feel? You're kind of happy with Torbjorn?
Yeah, I think he's alright. Like how Sam said, Pharah's just keeping him in check most of the time. If someone goes Torb, you can just go Pharah to quickly counter it. But other than that, he's pretty good. He can get up in your face and like do a lot of damage. He is better Reaper, like you said, so I think he's alright. He does not need any changes or anything.
The turret, you're fine with it. Like that's usually where people's frustrations lie, and especially in the middle ranks. It's just like the turret, just too much free value. You're okay
I
with it?
mean, the turret's fine. You could just shoot it. It's not that hard, but I think he's fine where he is. I don't think there's any changes needed for Torb right now, currently.
Spilo, you're happy with Torb?
No. No, I think that like his identity as a builder is like kind of failed. I would love to see them give him more variety of like turrets and different utility turrets, and I'd like them to have them actually have a timer, like they only last for a certain period of time, where they could be extra effective, but like that introduces some cooldown management. The turret is either completely useless or like really annoying if you're in lower ranks. I think that he just like lacks. He doesn't really have a good gameplay cycle. It's basically just throw your turret on an angle where you can't be shot, and then spam down main, and generally pretty much tank bust. I don't even like his matchups versus most of the DPS or support cast. We did a whole like counter videos, like what count, dude. Torbjorn counters is countered by like 2/3 of the DPS cast. Freaking Ashe, Cassidy, Echo, Genji, Hanzo, Pharah, Sojourn, Soldier, Widowmaker. Like there's so many characters that have like really good matchups as Torb, and it just basically becomes like it's like a skill check for like so many of those matchups. So I don't know. We don't have to go into it much more, but I think that like having some sort of like more of choice with what he could do with like the builder dynamic would be interesting. We even had like an idea of like giving him like a hammer flip, like leaning more into his whole like hammer identity, like doing something fun with that. But like I don't find him very interesting to play versus or as.
I mean, definitely worth. I think there's really interesting ideas. There's lots of food for thought, and I think probably just not on their high priority list. They're probably not like because he's not overly problematic. So I don't think they think that like oh we need to start thinking about what his turrets can do. But those are really fun ideas. Maybe something to explore in one of these mirror watch type situations, or a quick play hack or April Fool's something, just to see some different ideas for utility. Okay, let's talk about Tracer then, second last hero, and one that I'm sure there should be lots of discussion on. I will have to take it to Jay3 first. I will make no jokes about you whiffing pulse bombs because I'm sure you get plenty of them. So Jay, unironically, how do you feel about Tracer?
I think Tracer is one of the strongest characters right now, especially with the DPS passive that we were just talking about. You know, spray 20%. She's had very high mobility. I feel like she was played a lot, and even in the OWCS, if I'm not mistaken. Oh no, I think she's played a few times. I think Cassidy and Sojourn, and there was a lot more. But I do think she's really good as of right now. I don't know if she needs any changes. I feel like if you change anything about her, she's gonna become like horrible. So no, wait, Chaser's underpowered. Give her 20 buffs, please, and thank you. No, see, my chat is okay. Never mind. No, I think she's good right now, though. Really.
Yeah, I guess there hasn't been any significant change since Overwatch 1 that you can suggest we go back to, so you're pretty happy generally.
Oh, if you want to do that, bring back Pulse Bomb to like 400 damage.
No.
It should be 500 damage now. You know why? Because if you are nanoed as a Soldier 76 and you are visoring and a Tracer was able to get close enough to you to Pulse Bomb you, you should be able to die from that.
And Cassidy does not die to a Pulse Bomb. That guy just shrugs everything off.
He just rolls it, yeah.
He shrugs
Which
everything off.
is kind of crazy if you think about it.
I'd love the lore explanation for why his roll just suddenly makes him immortal. Like, what's like apparently when he stood standing still, like he's fine, but like when you're rolling, he's a fucking beast.
Yeah.
Deku, I think Jay alluded to something there, which is like Trace is always on this like razor's edge of balances, and she's like just very close to taking over, very close to just almost being unplayable, especially if you're not really good at her. Where do you see her right now? You kind of okay with her or not?
I think she's really good, but I think it's fine because she's hard to play. But I mean, overall, I think if you're a really good Tracer, you almost rarely ever die, and you're always pushing out a lot of damage. So I think she's just perfect right now, in a good spot, and the DPS passive she's one of the people that's benefiting the most from the DPS passage for sure. I wouldn't mind if they made her Pulse Bomb do more damage though. That'd be cool. I miss Overwatch 1.
that could be the summary of this side of the call. Sam, would you support the Pulse Bomb buff?
I think if Pulse Bomb gets buffed, you open a can of worms of a lot of other ults should be buffed first. I think Tracer's mid-fight is so good that it's hard to say that her ult should get buffed, honestly. I understand why people would want it, especially with tanks being so damn tanky now. Like, pulsing a tank used to be super, super valuable. It just doesn't matter anymore. I think she's fine, though. I wouldn't... I think there's bigger fish to fry. There's lower hanging fruit. But I think... The game is better when Tracer is getting played because whenever Tracer is just unpickable, that means it's like Season 7, where it's just like Lifeweaver, Alari, Bap, Sig, Poke the whole time on like every map, and that just sucks. So I think Tracer being played is always fun for the game because she's pretty neutral in most of the matchups, and that's just what's fun. It's like when you have the choice to decide the duel, like we talked about like in Overwatch 1, like the old cast stun where, you know, as Genji, the deflect into that matchup, or like blinking around him, like that's those kind of mind game matchups, which is what Tracer's entire kit is what makes this game fun. So I think she's fine. Honest, Dante style.
Honest,
you know?
honest hero.
That's the most Dante thing
Honest.
ever.
Yeah, honest. Spilo, you kind of, I think Tracer here falling in the same category that Genji that Samito said, where it's like, you know, like if this hero's good, like game is fun. Do you concur?
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I think people complain always when something's perma-meta, but at the same time, a lot of the people that are complaining about perma-meta are the ones that are playing in the higher levels, where, again, we have the Sojourn problem with, like, Tracer just has the value ceiling that, like, if you're really good at the game, you could be really good at Tracer. So it's like you're going to see higher skill characters in higher ranks. Shocker. That's how it should be. You know, we should be seeing Malga and Roadhog. We should be Winston and Diva and Tracer and Sojourn and so on. And I think, that's not a problem. That's how the game should be, and we should try to get more characters to that level. The only thing I would say with Tracers is, like, the Pulse Bomb thing. I think Pulse Bomb's actually okay. You guys need to remember that season 10 armor changes buffed Pulse Bomb by a lot on tanks because the armor only reduces 5 damage on Pulse Bomb. It's not a 30% damage reduction anymore, so it's actually fairly significant now. But yeah, I wouldn't change anything with Tracer. I'd just leave her as is. Don't touch her.
Okay, I'll take that as a good conclusion to bring us over to Widowmaker, our last hero, and I think we have to go to our resident Widow expert here first, Deku. Widowmaker, good, happy, not happy?
I mean, she's alright. I don't really one trick her or anything. I just play her on the good Widow maps or whatever. I think she's in a fine spot. She you know, she has her one shot, but it's a skill shot, so it's alright. The thing is though, like, I don't know why, but like anytime there's like cheaters on, they're always on that character, and it's never on an actual Widow map, so that's where like I get annoyed about Widow when there's cheaters, but other than that, I think Widow's fine in and on itself. Okay, reduce the mine cooldown maybe. That's the only complaint I have.
You just feel like it's not up enough to kind of deal with the flankers that are coming for you?
I just feel like it's really long for no reason. Like, it takes forever. I'm like waiting on it. I'm like, alright, I should have it by now. I check. Oh, still more 5 seconds left? Okay. So, and it's like really easy to break. You can see it. It glows. It's not impossible to kill, and it doesn't do a lot of damage or anything. I think it's maybe one thing you can change about her, but that's about it.
Jay, you're giggling over there. What's got you chuckling?
Because I'm looking at Sam. Let Sam go.
All right, Samito.
He's about to go on the Twitter rant.
Widowmaker is the most broken DPS in this damn game. Actual cheat code hero. The stupidest, dumbest proof of hit scan bias I have ever seen in this damn game. Truly unanswerable. Like, it baffles me that this hero has not been touched yet, but I get why, because you're kind of stuck if you're Blizzard. It pisses me off so much. Widow is the only hero in this game where you can have a kid going 10 and 10, 1-for-1, and still be holding the lobby hostage. It is absurd. It is actually absurd how freaking awful this hero is to play against. Because, and here's the reason why, and it really sucks, because like they've put themselves, I'm going to quote Jay, they put themselves in a bit of a hole here, right? Because she's only good on her maps, but I've had people force her in a lot of different ways. You go dive against her, and then they just pick like Kiri, Weaver, like things that is auto-deny dive. So like you can't stay in on the dive and dive for like 2 consistently unless you have a ton of setup. Like I've never seen a hero in this game in the DPS role. Brig kind of did it in Overwatch 1, where they just hold the lobby hostage and change how the entire game is played just by picking them. It is the least amount of fun I think I've ever had playing Overwatch. It just sucks. But the problem is, what do you do with the character to make sure that they can still be played, but also maintain their identity? And so I want to give some suggestions out there before I just go off on what. Seriously though, like I really mean this. Like there is no other hero in the game where somebody can be 10-10 and holding the entire game hostage. It's crazy. It's crazy. But you don't want to gut it either. So if you look at other FPS games, the sniper heroes that have one shots either have horrible fire rates, no close range options, or limited mobility. As much as I hate Widow, God, it's gonna make me so mad to say this. I would unironically change the grapple first so it can be interrupted. Just something to make her actually, if she's going to have the one shot, because there's no way we get to complain about Junkrat one shot on this podcast. There's no way we get to complain about, what was the other one we complained about? There were two that we said
Maybe
were really
Pharah?
good today.
Hanzo.
Or I think Conk maybe Hanzo.
Pharah, something, right? Like we can't complain about Junkrat's one shot and not address the elephant in the room that is Widowmaker as well. Because the best way to counter a Widow is to pick Widow. Undoubtedly, the easiest way to do it. And honestly, I don't know how to fix it. I wish I had an answer. I don't. All I know is that it sucks. It's worse than Junkrat because again, like I insta peek a corner, gone. What am I supposed to do to that? Not peek the corner? Okay, not play the game? I'll just sit in my spawn AFK. That's what I've started to do. I'll just AFK. She's an actual cheat code hero, and I don't know how to fix it. I don't. I wish I did. I don't. I think she rewards so much for what she requires, and there's a reason why all the cheaters can pick the characters and instantly get a ton of value. It's because it just rewards so much for like the simplest things. But you don't want to get rid of it either because like snipers and FPS games are what like sniping in FPS games is so much fun, whether it be Warzone, whether it be I guess the op and CS. Like I'm not sure if Valorant has a sniper or not. Like that is a really rich identity that is super super fun. But holy shit, there's just like there's so much that goes into it in Overwatch where it's like, okay, you want to make it diveable, and then okay, Kiri exists, Weaver exists, Alari pylon's there. Like if I go Sombra, they have Alari Widow, I have to break the pylon first because Spilo, there should not be a turret in this game that lasts forever. There's not one. There should not be one that like actually it just. I'm gonna let everybody else go.
All right, yeah. Before I go to Jay and Spilo, I want to give Deku the chance to answer these accusations that have been labeled the way of players like herself. Deku, what is your response to what Samito just said?
I mean, I get it. It is frustrating playing as a character that can one-shot you across the map. I don't have an answer, though, for fixing it, because, like, it's Widowmaker, it's a sniper. How are you going to fix that? It needs to, like, maybe make the head hitbox even smaller, but to make it even more of a skill shot, but I don't know. I mean, I love Widowmaker, so.
It's only at the ceiling, too, is the hard part. It's only at the ceiling. It's like most players won't deal with that. But once you get there, it's the same thing with DPS Doomfist, where like DPS Doom, 95% of players just went straight down mid. But once you hit his ceiling and you're able to go in and do what you could do with Doom, it was miserable to play against. And I understand why people hated it so much. But that's why I loved it, because it was Akshi's answer to like Akshi's backline comp. So like I see why people would like it. I have no answer either. So it's just I don't know what to do. I really don't.
All right. Well, Jay3, has this satisfied your anticipation of seeing Samito go off there?
Oh man, I think that was the best thing I've ever seen in a while. I'm gonna be honest with you. I do think I could see what Samito's saying. I do think when you're playing Widowmaker and you are hitting your shots, you are playing server admin. And I'm thinking about ways how to fix Widowmaker, but I can't think of one because I played Fortnite back then just to play it and fuck around. They nerfed snipers in that game so they wouldn't one shot, and it was fucking stupid. It was hell.
Bad at Warzone too when they do that.
Yeah, and then they also did something similar in Apex where it's the Kraber. The Kraber can still one shot unless you have like a level 3 helmet or higher, and that combats the one shot, but you still get left with like a little bit of health. So I actually don't know. It's very interesting that you said with the grapple. As soon as you take like a little bit of damage, maybe your grapple fails. Maybe you take away some of her close quarter combat, maybe. So if you do break in close, she can't do anything. So that would be very interesting to see if. But I actually don't know how they would do anything to nerf Widow.
Spilo, can I bounce an idea off you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sam.
So sorry to interrupt you, SVB. Okay, what if this happened? One, I've always said this: the way to approach Widow is indirectly. It has to be indirectly because you can't. Like, it's when heroes like Genji are suffering and different things are suffering, and again, sustain becomes so good that you can't challenge her that things get tough. I think that grapple, if you start taking damage or something, you should not be able to grapple. If you're going to commit to a spot on Widow, you shouldn't just be able to take the angles for free. Like, you should have to really think about your positioning. I think the grapple change could be a good one. I'm okay with Venom Mine coming way lower because that is a skill check for flankers. Like, you can break the Venom Mine. There's things that you can interact with that. It's like, I think the big frustration that comes from Widow for me is my inability to do anything, especially with how easy it is to apply invulnerabilities and healing on support. Whether it be, the hardest is when they have a Lari and they have the third support up permanently. I think making Pylon not be permanent is a really, really easy thing to do. I don't know, Spilo. I'll toss it to you because this is going to go on for a long time. I don't want to. We've been on here for a while. I don't want to rant about it forever. But my thing is, like, there needs, like, indirect value is how you need to cut off Widow, and it's so frustrating to play against.
It feels like the Hanzo thing just needs to decide like what direction we go in the character. We're going to maintain like the super static, high risk, high reward identity, where, like you said, you get really punished if you get caught with your pants down. Problem with that, obviously, is that's going to limit like the number of situations where she's viable even more than she already is. Yeah. Without necessarily addressing the problem initially. I think that, like, indirectly, maybe I agree that she's probably the most difficult to balance character, maybe in the entire cast, even harder than like a Roadhog. I think, like, I don't know what you can do with her. I can see the appeal. It's fun when you pop off, but it is definitely server admin. Maybe just a thought here. I haven't thought enough about it, but maybe something like having a way that just how her charge rate on her fire works. So like at front, like it actually takes, let's say, 4 seconds or 5 seconds to fully charge a shot. But the first second or two gets you to like 60, 70%. So you can scope in quickly and get a decently charged shot, but you can't actually charge a one shot unless you're charged for 4 or 5 seconds. So what this means is that she's able to consistently do competitive damage. Maybe even the scoping animation is faster, right? But you're not able to consistently one shot. Like, you actually have to fully commit to that one shot, and then there's a window of vulnerability for 5 or 6 seconds before you're able to actually fully get the one shot again. I have no idea. I'm just throwing crap out of the thing in the last few minutes, but you do have to. It's ugly. This character is maybe the ugliest character in the entire Overwatch cast. And, when it comes to like,
reminds me of TF2. The longer the sniper scope, the longer you stay scoped, the more damage you do. But I mean,
right,
I don't know. Aren't you going to play Call of Duty at that point, just holding one angle?
Well, it would only be for the first shot. What I'm saying is then you reposition, and then now you can still do competitive damage. You just charge up that first 150 damage, 175 damage quickly. Almost makes it like an Ashe at that point, like where you scope and scope and you scope and you just quick shoot. But yeah, like I don't think there is an easy answer.
Any other thoughts on Widow before we move to concluding thoughts? Any other things you want to float?
I mean, I can make Samito mad. Go back to 6v6 so you have 2 tanks dealing with Widow.
Problem is you have 2 tanks, you have 2 tanks, but I do think it cuts both ways, though, because then you have you cut off a lot of the angles that that flankers can now. Like, one of the answers with Widows now is you can actually legit put a Kiriko or a Moira on a flank. You know, you can full on Reddit Lucio.
Yeah, that doesn't happen often, though. That doesn't happen often. That favors her.
Yeah, it depends. I would say that I've seen fewer situations in which Widow has been a viable character at the highest level since Overwatch 2. I don't know if that's
in scrims. In ranked, though, I think it's even easier. It's just so easy for people to pick Widow and just get value in ranked. It's so easy.
Fair enough.
Well, I think
Widowmaker was the same with Hanzo too.
Widowmaker will always be one of those heroes. No, she just will always be one of those heroes that kind of has this, because as you guys have already alluded to, there's just such a boomer bust with her. Like, you can just destroy the lobby, but also it is a skillful hero. We do want to reward that. And how do you change you do want the sniper to have a one shot and have the reward for hitting the shot? So a tough one for the devs to balance. I think the easiest is
grapple. It has to be grapple. It just has to be grapple if you're going to touch her directly. That's it. Just don't let her get away for free if she's being dove, and make the supports peel her. I don't know. Too hard.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys have been with me for a long one. This has been a lot of DPS to get into, so I appreciate you guys going through all of it. We'll just go last minute concluding thoughts. I'll ask you guys one simple question. What is the most pressing thing you think they need to do in terms of helping DPS? Like, what is the thing that, like, if you were like, this is what I would like to see as a DPS representative, this is what will make the game more fun, less stale, or maybe just, buff my character, whatever it is that you want. I'll go to Spilo first. Spilo, what is the one thing that DPS would benefit from the most?
I think individual attention with the kits that need addressing. I think what we did today is like something that I'm sure the Blizzard team is doing it, but I just want to see them continue to do it. Like, discussions about Hanzo and main, just never in a vacuum. You know, I think DPS is fine overall. Would just like to see some tweaks for each individual character based off of what they need.
Nice. I like that. Sam?
I think they need to find a way to create more options for DPS. I hate to say 6v6, but I know the answer is not a raid boss tank. I would be interested. I would be intrigued to see them try making things less tanky and creating more options for me to go get direct value on. Like I definitely am feeling the pain of, sure, I can access the space easier, but what's the point of having the space if my gameplay options are significantly less than they were before, especially when heroes are being left behind? I'd love to see them create more organic value that I have to create through my agency, and not passive value that just the game just says, oh, well, you kind of have to do this. Like get rid of the tank ult charge reduction thing. I want to get rid of that. Let me farm. Let me farm hogs. Let me do that. Whatever. Yeah, here we go.
Well, then anything that's anti-hog was makes me happy, but maybe Deku doesn't agree with that. Deku, how do you feel? What would you
No,
want
I
for
agree with
DPS?
that.
Yeah?
I'm all
Fuck
for
it.
like, yeah, I'm all for like nerfing the tanks, because like it just feels like no matter what you do on DPS, tank is always still gonna be more important, even with the DPS passive. And I agree with Spilo that some individual DPSs need to be looked at and tweaked for their own purposes so they can keep up. But other than that, yeah.
What would you want is like your main thing?
Just nerf the tanks, please.
Nerf tanks.
They're OP. They're better DPSs, better bigger DPSs that do it
True.
way better. I don't know.
See, Jay, now you're gonna have to make your mind up, because it's like, are you gonna go at the tank players? You gonna go at the support players / healer players, whatever you want to call them, or are you gonna
I'm
continue to
consistent.
anger the Symmetra players? What do you want?
I'm consistent. I hate everyone.
Just a hater.
No, I feel like my biggest thing for I guess to conclude everything is like I wish you know the devs or even Overwatch would just answer or give us more information. Like they did an AMA and I just learned about them changing Reaper. I never even knew that. I wish they just did more stuff like that, or even just gave us a little bit more information, or just talk to us a little bit more. But I do agree with Spilo. They need to change some of the heroes that are not performing as well, and like the very low hero pick, I guess. That's probably what I would say.
Interesting. I'll applaud both you and Deku for not bringing up just we'll just bring back 6v6 guys like that. That's my real answer.
They should make a game mode. I'm being honest. Make an arcade game mode. Make it like a week thing. See how people like it. See what I think that would pop off. I think that would be a huge thing that Overwatch should do.
I agree. Bring back 6v6 guys, please.
Sam's just quietly loving life. He's like, yeah, man, look at these.
Dude, no, I'm honestly tired. I'm just tired, man. I'm just tired of Hog. My soul's burned out. I'm like, what is that meme where the dude's just sitting there and he's just like, is it? No, it's from Cyberpunk. It's from the Cyberpunk anime. It's about SVB, Dota Dragon's Blood on Netflix, and you watch
dude,
that.
I do need to watch. I don't have a Netflix subscription anymore. I canceled that shit. Since
Damn, I canceled mine.
When they did all that bullshit, I was like, fuck these guys.
Wait, what bullshit?
But the screen sharing, but yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear about this.
Yeah. I can't share with my family anymore, so fuck them. Anyways, I get you, man. I get you. And I appreciate all of you guys for giving me your time. And this was a long one, but it was a good one. Thank you for giving me such a wide depth and breadth of opinion. I hope that some of this will be helpful to the devs, and hope we'll see some cool, fun changes. Hope you guys feel less stale about the game. I hope it's exciting, and I hope at least maybe the next season brings some exciting changes for you guys to sink your teeth into. But for now, thank you to Samito, Spilo, Jay3, and Deku for joining me. Please show these guys some love. Thank you so much for your time, guys. Anything else you want to say before I let you get going?
No, thanks for having us.
I hate Sam.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, guys.
All right,
Peace out.
Bye-bye.